Commissioners meeting is now in session. Honorable Mayor Jeff Mason presiding.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll start in prayer tonight. County Attorney, Mr. Brandon Beller, would you lead us in prayer?
Yes, sir. Holy Father, we come before you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. We give you all the glory and all the honor taken unto ourselves. We thank you for your presence here with us tonight to lead us and guide us. By your will we operate, by your will we do what we do. And yours and your will alone. We ask for your wisdom, your grace, and your mercy. For all those that couldn't be here tonight because of sickness or infirmity, we ask, Lord, that you send your ministering angels and people of whoever kind to help them recover from that sickness. And for our military personnel from at home and abroad, that you're with them every step of the way, leading them and guiding them in their job and what they have to do to protect our nation. Lord, we thank you for the liberties and the freedoms that we have in this country that was founded on your word, for your will, for your purpose. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, we thank you. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Green, would you lead us in the pledge?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stacy, would you roll call?
Andy Green,
Here.
Glenn Reese,
Here.
Terry Gibbons,
Here.
Billy Bass,
Here.
Greg Kirby,
Here.
Jason Stewart,
Here.
Jeannie Whitford,
Here.
Daniel Cripps,
Here.
Dalton Haskell, Shannon Minchie,
Here.
Erica Ebel, here, Ron Schumate,
Here.
Ron Cowan,
Here.
Linda Nixon,
Here.
Kobe McKean,
Here.
Barbara Knappel, here, Charles Kent,
Here.
Bill Reese,
Here.
Tommy Bain,
Here.
Joey Nixon,
Here.
Dennis Hackett, David Gross,
Here.
Frank Woodard,
Here. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. Tonight is a public hearing on a proposed 59-cent property tax increase. We are bound by our statutory duties to do that anytime a property tax increase is proposed. What we're going to do tonight is one of the cornerstones of our democracy. When the founding fathers set up the ability to speak and think freely, and we are guaranteed that by our Creator and our Constitution. And that is one of the greatest freedoms that we have in this nation, is the ability to speak your mind when it comes to government issues. And for that, we are thankful to our Lord and to our founding fathers who put that in there. There are countries and nations today that don't have that ability, and we are a blessed nation before it. But we are blessed because there's men that have fought and died for that right. And we thank them for what they did. So tonight, we put a list out there for you to sign in if you wanted to speak. The idea tonight is we'll take that list and divide that up into time and give you how much time will be allotted, and then once the public has had their opportunity to speak, at the end, the commissioners and any elected officials will have a chance to answer any questions that may have been directed to them, or they will be able to give a rebuttal to anything that was there. So we will start by getting that list. Looks like we will be able to, somewhere around 5 minutes, give you to speak. What we would ask is when we call your name, you come up to the podium, state your name and your district. You don't care what district you live in, if you know. So our first name on the list is Justin Malden. I said that right?
I am Justin Malden. I am a resident of District 7, is where I'm a constituent out of. I appreciate you guys coming. I appreciate the public coming and being here for this public hearing, and I hope that you guys pay attention to what everybody's going to say and listen to their concerns and to their opinions. I know you guys have met, especially the Budget and Finance Committee has met multiple times to try to hash this out, to iron this out. And if I asked for a show of hands and I said, who's really excited to pass a property tax increase? Anybody really excited to do that? Anybody really excited about having to cut 25% out of each department's budget for the entire county? Would anybody be really excited to let the state comptroller come in and take over the county's finances and jack that property tax up even more and cut potentially even more than that out of our budget? No. You guys are tasked with something that nobody wants to do. You guys have to make a decision that nobody wants to make at this point. But you guys have to do it. Part of your responsibilities as the commissioners for this county is to pass that budget, and now you've got to make a hard decision. What I would ask for you is to set aside your emotions, set aside your feelings, set aside your personal interest, and do what's right for this county. Put this county first and put this county foremost as a #1 priority. You guys have a tough task ahead of you. Go through that budget, and I know several of you have, and I've spoken with several of you, and I appreciate the time that you've taken to speak with me and other constituents and the time that you have put into that. You guys have already cut money out. You guys are already trying to work toward getting us out of this situation that we're in. Do I want a property tax increase, and do I agree with a property tax increase? No, I do not. But I don't think anybody here wants that either. What we've got to do, and we've got to make the decision that's going to put us in the best shape and the best foot going forward. Look through that line item. Look through those budgets. There's some things in there still, and I've seen the proposed budget, and I went through it line by line that I think could be altered and could be adjusted still. Some fat can still be trimmed off of that. There's some things that can still come off of that. The commitment that we need from you guys as commissioners is if you guys pass this property tax increase, we need to hold you responsible for that increase. We need to make sure that if this increase passes, that you guys are going to hold up your end of the deal. Understand why we want the property tax increase. We got increased revenues, we cut expenses, and cutting those expenses isn't enough. With those increased revenues, though, if we can get to where we want to be in 2 years and 3 years, we need the commitment from you guys now that over these next 2 and 3 years, we're going to get there. And that as you get this added revenue potentially from this increase, you guys aren't going to increase it and spend it and go out and start getting us right back in the boat that we're in. You guys have depending upon where you're at, you may be up for re-election next year or in 3 years. And we're going to hold you responsible for the decisions and the actions that you take, and that's our responsibility as your constituents. I would ask that everybody that's here be understanding of what's going on, be understanding the position that these commissioners are in, the decisions that they're having to make, and what they're having to go through. Again, they don't want to make this decision, and I don't want to be in their shoes right now, but we need to be understanding of that position. We need to treat them with kindness and treat them with respect throughout this process with what they're doing. And we need to make sure that we are aware, right, that we are holding them accountable, that we know what's happening with the budget, that we know what their options are. Sales tax has been thrown around, wheel tax has been thrown around, but we know that's not an option right now. The one option, the one thing that you guys can control is property tax, and that's what we're here and that's what we're talking about. The other options may be down the road, and that may be some commitments, that may be some requests that we make of you guys to look at those options down the road. Property tax only affects a minority of the county. It doesn't affect everybody in this county. Those of us who are property owners are going to feel that burden more than others, and we do need to look at spreading that burden around a little bit more. Again, that can't be done now, but the ask would be to explore those options so that we can, down the road, have a more fair tax.
Thank you, Mr. Malden. Next on the list is Mr. Coley.
Thank you all. Appreciate y'all hearing us out. The public is, like you said, this is a great thing about our nation is we're able to come out here, we're able to speak and put our opinion out there. First off, I just wanted to say, and I'm Cole Ebel from Carthage. So I strongly oppose any property tax increase. I own 4 different properties in Smith County. One's residential, Two are retail, one's agricultural. And who am I going to pass these taxes on to? My agricultural prices will be raised. My food prices at my restaurant will be raised. My rent prices to my tenants will be raised. I currently work several jobs and own several businesses. I employ about a dozen people in Smith County. This will not only affect them, but it's going to affect their families, and it's going to affect my family. We elected all of you because we wanted to see change. We didn't want to see the same old politics. I spoke with over 850 households, and I can tell you the vast majority of them want change. If we decide to throw more taxpayer money at a problem that government created, we are no better than those in Washington that spend money that we don't have, passing the debt on to our children. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. We cannot spend our way out of this. The debtor is slave to the lender. I also understand that the state forces us to have many of these expenditures. I feel it is tyranny for politicians in Nashville to mandate how Smith County spends its money. It is tyranny for them to mandate how much money Smith County spends on what departments. It is tyranny for the state to say it is going to step in and diminish the government that we elected because we in Smith County want to spend within our means. In Smith County, this is our money. We worked hard for it. This is not government money. The people are behind this committee and the mayor to stand up to the state. We must gut every unnecessary expense we have before we raise property taxes. The Smith County government exists to serve the people of Smith County. The people of Smith County do not exist to bail out the government when it spends our money unwisely. We should be asking every department to make cuts. This will not be easy, and the voters know this. But we have been watching, and we voted for you to fix this issue, not to add to the issue. I'm here not to complain, but to offer any help I can give. I stand strongly against a raise in property tax. The citizens just frankly can't afford it. The effects will trickle down to every person in Smith County. I thank and support each and every one of you who vote against this property tax. Thank you.
Ms. Teresa Marion.
I'm Teresa Marion, and my district is 1. And what I came here to say is that this problem has been going on for a really long time. It's been going on for years. And I think that that's where we need to start. And I understand that you're a new mayor. And some of these commissioners have been here for a very long time. And this has been a case of mismanagement right from the beginning. I mean, the people that serve this county are hardworking people. And all their departments they can run in a fair and respectful way. But, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, your predecessor just leaving, this problem has been going on for a long time. There's no reason why the commissioners, and I really am against commissioners being on the Budget and Finance Committee. I think that's a really wrong move because every commissioner here has, you know, their own things that they want done. And so if you're sitting on the Finance Committee, that's where your time and our money is going to go. And I really don't believe that that's a fair thing. And I really think that 3 commissioners for each district is unnecessary. It just causes a logjam for everybody that's concerned, and it's not necessary. And I can tell you this, all the time that I've lived in the state and in Smith County, I have never once been introduced to a commissioner, ever. They have never stopped at our house. They have never asked for our vote. They've never really said where they stand. When everybody runs for an office, all I see in the newspaper is what club they are a member of. I don't hear anything about their qualifications. I don't get to hear them have a debate when people are running. And I think that's really important. I'd rather know where you stand on things and what your qualifications are to be in budget and finance, to be a commissioner and not be biased. And I really believe that we need a reorganization here, and maybe a little bit input from a people's council, the citizens of Smith County. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. No, not yet. Evelyn Johnson.
Evelyn Johnson, and I'm District 4. I didn't really plan on getting up here tonight, but I just kind of felt like I needed to speak and say some things. One of the things, as one of the other gentlemen said, I feel like the budget can be trimmed a whole lot more. And one of the areas that I'm very strong on, and trust me when I say this, is I believe in helping people, and I believe in giving and doing what I can for the person behind me. But if I don't have it to give, then I don't have it to give. This county does not have the money to be donating money. It doesn't have money to be giving to these organizations that want, I mean, I agree. We got a lot of good organizations, and there's some, I mean, what do they do with the money? I mean, that's their organization to do with what they want. If somebody gives me money, it's not, I know, they shouldn't ask me what I'm going to do with it if they give it to me. Okay, I understand that. But there's some that's on this budget that has been given money in the past that I just recently found out actually wasn't in operation. Now, when you're giving $12,000 a year to something that actually isn't in operation, the organization is there, but where'd the money go? Did the county actually write a check to those organizations? Do we know that that money went to those organizations? And I asked that, is it fair if, and I really don't know how to describe this, but how can you trim one donation and not trim the other one? How do you decide, oh, this one's worthy of our donation, but this one's not worthy? I say trim every budget till we get out of this mess and we can have the money in the green or in the black, however how you can say it, to give. If you're in the red, you shouldn't be giving money.
Thank you. Mr. Eddie Shoulders.
My name is Eddie Shoulders, and I'm from the district up towards Chester Mound, Elmwood, and I'm going to talk a little different. If any of you has read Revelation 13, it talks about two different kinds of beasts. And the beast that the Bible is talking about is the kingdoms and the governments of the end times, and how crooked and corrupt and crazy they'll be in the end times. And if you don't think we're in the end times, the first prophecy that I know of that was fulfilled was when Israel got to be a country again. And that happened in 1948 after the 6-Day War. And if that don't give you a sign, Acts 2, 17 through 22, Joel 2, 28 through 32. When you look up into the sky and see the signs in the heavens, you'll know the time is near. That was the blood moons of 2014 and 2015. We're in the end times. And if you don't believe that, then go to look it up to the 7 trumpets. 5 of them's already happened. And if you want to know what that is, I'll explain that to you sometime. But point being, we're in the end times, and even the Bible says the kingdoms and the governments will be crooked in the end times. And that's what I'm saying. Not all of you. I know some of you too well. But I know this government as a whole is crooked. I know too much waste has went on. Anything and everything has gone on. You hear it all the time. Some of them right over here is talking about anything and everything. And what I propose to the people of this county, let's get together and hire a lawyer. Here's the start of it right here. Let's hire a lawyer. Let's hire a law firm and clean the county out. Let's get some more people in here. Somebody that can get the job done, somebody we can trust.
I agree to that.
And I helped put you in here, best I remember. If this is what's going to happen under your reign, get out.
Thanks, sir. Michelle Barnes.
Hello. I live in the city. I think, I'm not sure my district. And I've never met my council person either.
What do you see?
Carthage City, pays city tax and county tax and government FEMA. So I have quite a bit on my yearly bill before I even touch my house payment.
Amen.
And I'm sure lots of others in this area are paying the FEMA as a result of a flood that happened before we moved here or while we were here, who knows. A little about myself. I am in the revenue cycle business. I work at the hospital in Lebanon. And I chose to move to Carthage because I could not afford to live in Lebanon to get a house size that I needed. Now, I really like this little city. I grew up in Baxter, Putnam County, so I wanted someplace tight. But I think this city is the tightest that I've ever seen. There's a lot of nepotism and favoritism, and just in the year and a half that I've lived here, hand-picking of things, and that's okay, that's part of business, I guess. But when it's my money, it's actually part of, I know I work in the hospital. Sometimes if you know somebody, you don't get an interview, you get hired. So I know things like that happen in the government too. But I have a yearly budget at home and at my business. Not my business that I own, but the one I work for. And I have to meet or be less than that budget. And I know this is probably the last meeting, and I know that all of these things have been said before. I've watched all the little clips on the Insider. But I'm like Evil, Mr. Evil. I do not want to pay more taxes. I do not. I feel I'm already paying a lot on top of what my house cost. And I didn't get a raise for 2 years because our hospital decided to stick to the budget. And I know a lot of people that make much less than me that didn't get raises for 2 years. And I know that the hospital's not the only business that didn't give raises. There's probably some around here that didn't. I just think it's not fair. I have to stick to my check reconciliation, and I think that the government should do as well. We don't have a lot of jobs here. I've been doing some research. Most of it's service industry. And probably if it wasn't for Bonnell, the wages would be much, much, much lower than the average. So there are many things that we can do here before raising taxes on the people that aren't making that much money already. Trimming that fat, like they were talking about, the charity, why aren't we making income on the lake, like you said, or the river, I'm sorry. The camping sites, I don't know. There's been so many things mentioned in all these meetings. Even driving police cars home. Is that necessary? I mean, I live in Carthage and I can get an emergency call to the hospital and I have to be there like that. Well, that's a 40-minute drive for me. I don't get to bring a van home, or I don't get to bring an ambulance home because I, need to be there. But I cannot believe here today that there's not more fat that you can find in that budget. A budget that I've never seen. I don't know anything about it other than what I've watched on the Insider. City's the same way. I watched that crazy meeting.
same exact way. I don't know that budget, I've never seen it, but yet my taxes are gonna go up because of it. And they have a surplus. So I don't understand the logic. It's not real world logic to charge more and spend more than what you have. So that's all I have to say.
Michael Hart.
Good evening. Appreciate y'all doing this and giving the residents of the county an opportunity to speak out. My name is Michael Hart. I'm District 5, and I'll also add that I'm a Gordonsville City Council member. All right. We, as a whole, I wrote down a couple of things here. We've all heard the term, don't spend more than you make, and it appears that Smith County has been doing this for quite some time. I'm proud to say that I'm a resident here, 50 years old, grew up in the Feeding Creek area, now live in Gordonsville area. We as a country, we as a county, country, and state, we have got to stop overspending money. First of all, it's taxpayers' money. It's not our money or the county's money to be spending. And we have to get over the overspending under control. As a few of us carry the load for many, referring to the number of property owners that we have in the county, which is, I think, around 6,500. I did some numbers on it, and at the time of the 2010 census, we had 19,000 people and change, and I took it as an average of 6,500. 3.3% of the people in here are paying the property taxes of the county. Which, unlike some of the other residents have said, I think there can be some things that's looked at within the budget that can be more taken off of it. I figured up my taxes, just my personal taxes on the proposed amount. Mine was a little over $200 some odd on the 59-cent increase. And I mean, I know that's nothing compared to some of the people in here. I mean, some of it's several thousands of dollars. Property tax, in my opinion, and I quote you on this, Mr. Mason, I agree, the property tax and inheritance tax is one of the most unfair taxes that we have. Now, I don't understand and know that we have to have them to provide the services and things that the county does as a whole. My point was, I guess, that there's a lot of people that's carrying the load for a few, and I'm more of a proponent of a wheel tax. Another thing that I would kind of wondered about, and I think I had heard it discussed, I'd watched some of the other meetings, was the Baker Farm purchase in Gordonsville area. I was kind of wanting to maybe get enlightened a little bit of how that was paid for and all this type of stuff. And appreciate the opportunity to come up and speak, and thank you for this, and appreciate the job that y'all do. Thanks.
Joey Bowman.
Joey Bowman, I think I'm in District 7, I believe, right there. We're in a mess, and my logic is a little different. I think we need $1.5 million, is that correct? Can somebody answer that question? Is it $1.5 million?
Please answer the question.
Sir?
Please answer the question.
Is it $1.5 million?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, if it's $1.5 million, get glasses on here, that thing goes down. I need to know if it's a standard note or a line of credit. If it's a line of credit, why can't we borrow the $1.5 million as a line of credit, use it as it needed? In other words, we take a draw once a month, run that month, and that's when you start acquiring interest, of course, is when you make a draw. Okay, we've got a cash flow problem. Why not start July 1st?
doing the same thing similar to what Leanne said down at Union Heights down there. Except I propose 1.5% per month, starting July 1st, savings for paying early. I'd pay early. I'm paying $12,000 worth of taxes. I'd pay early, that would help. Give that same benefit to everybody, month to month, 1.5%. You ain't gonna lose a lot of money, but you're gonna establish that cash flow. And then you can borrow what you need to off that line of credit as you need it, and only as you need it. And then put the wheel tax on the referendum on March. And I believe if every homeowner and landowner comes and politics a little bit about it, I think it'll pass with flying colors, and then we can get out of this mess and then revert all this back when it's all paid off, caught up, and have the excess the state recommends. And little example on that, $150,000 home pays $802.50. That'd be $12.04 a month. It ain't that much loss to the county to pay it early to get that money in there as cash. That's about all I got, but I don't know if the state regulates this paying in July. I understand Jamestown, they start, theirs is past due starting in August. They have to pay theirs by July. So it looks like to me it could be changed. But anyway, if we could do that, and if we could do a line of credit instead of a note for $1.5 million, I think a solution to get out of it. That's all I'm saying.
Randy Glover.
Jeff, I'm good, go ahead.
Okay. Arthur Shady.
Y'all having fun yet? Well, I pretty much in agreement with the majority here. There's I guess this problem is caused by an error in tabulating the county's fund balance. I've been the controller of a $5 million company. I know what that problem is. It's incompetence.
Amen.
Overstated revenues from ambulance services and revenues from state prisoners, those are not guaranteed. And then evidently nobody's watching what's going on. And it's accountable to anybody. You know what $1 million looks like? I'm not talking about a number on a paper. I mean, $1 million $1 bills. You're talking about miles.
No, sir.
And nobody in this room has ever seen that much money. But yet, somehow, this council, this budget committee, has managed to lose $1 million, or miscalculate $1 million. If you're an accountant where every penny has to balance, you got a problem there. To raise these taxes, you know, in order to try to smooth this thing over, they said, well, 2014, 2016, we had tax increase. Yes, you did, 5%. This tax increase is 28%. This tax increase is almost a third. And there are a lot of property owners that have a right to be upset about that. And a lot of property owners deserve some better answers than what they've been reading in the papers.
Yes.
Yes.
You can't compare or justify the taxes in this county with other counties, because they have different economies. They have different property value assessments. This county is unique to its own self, and you're just comparing apples and oranges and trying to smooth this thing over. You can't smooth it over. There's been some healthy screw-ups. And what I consider bad ideas, your proposed solutions are to raise property taxes by a ridiculous amount. I've never heard of anybody, any city, any county, ever raising your taxes by a third. 28% is not acceptable. And you raise the sales tax by 3/4 of a cent. Do you realize that Tennessee has the distinct honor of having the highest sales tax of all 50 states. If you live in Tennessee, you have the highest sales tax in all of America. And there are plenty of other states that don't have income taxes. Alaska doesn't have an income tax. Texas doesn't have an income tax. Florida doesn't have an income tax. I think Nevada, there's a couple more. But there are a lot of states that don't have an income tax, and they don't jack the sales tax up sky high like we do. It seems like there's nobody watching the store. It's tax and spend as usual. We can't run a county like Washington does, because we do have a bottom to the checkbook. And that's why you're in the situation you're in right now. If Gordonsville doesn't pass their sales tax, and we do, guess where people are going to go to shop? You know, it's going to affect our economy. Or if they don't pass it, and we do, it was voted down 6 months ago by the people in this county. That's not a very long period of time. I would think that they would get the idea that the folks in this county don't want a higher sales tax. And we don't live in Nashville. We don't live in Knoxville. We don't even live in Cookville. So why are we paying such high taxes? And a wheel tax. We just paid one off. That's supposed to be for schools. That has nothing to do with this. Cut services to veterans, seniors, ambulance services. Y'all be ashamed of yourself.
Exactly.
I think a better proposal would be to fire those responsible for the error and hire competent. To cut salaries and trim the budget in the county and make them live within their means. And I guess that's your job, Mr. Mayor. Put policies in place that would prevent this from happening again, and only spend money that we actually have in the bank. But we miscalculated. I didn't miscalculate. The board, the Finance and Budget Committee miscalculated.
That's right.
$1 million. How do you do that? How do you get that far off?
Don't care.
$1 million.
It's just money.
Yes, numbers on paper. Now you want to punish the residents of this county for your incompetence. Why should we give you more money when you've been irresponsible with what you have?
Tammy Haynes.
Well, I'm just a humble housekeeper, Tammy Haynes from Brush Creek, whatever. But I clean houses, and last year I had 25 houses. Clean every one of them. I projected that I would have 25 this year, around this time. But I only have 18. But I still got to come up with the tax money. I still got to come. Anybody here won't pay my part of it? I don't think nobody does. And, you know, the fat lady's done sung, as they say. Gonna have to come up with the money somewhere. And you will, because we're gonna have to pay some taxes. But I'm just saying, if I don't have the money, I don't go in the store. I tried to. I've been on my own since I was 17 years old. Basically, no family, no help. If I got myself in a hole, I had to dig myself out.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming to Tammy's rescue. I couldn't call my neighbor, my daddy, my mama. There wasn't nobody. I had to take care of it. I had to spend so many times everything that I wanted to buy, I wanted to have. I wanted to go on that vacation, but I couldn't because I didn't have the money. And at least I knew where my money was going. It was going to shoes on my kids' feet, lunch money, not no free lunch. Tammy paid for it. Tammy paid for it sometimes in pennies. take nothing free, didn't borrow, when I borrowed it, I paid it back when I said I was going to. I don't understand it. If I can do it, and I mean, everybody knows, I may not be the smartest person, but you don't count your chickens before they're hatched. And a left hand has to know what the right hand's doing. And if we can't, and everybody makes mistakes, Lord knows I wouldn't be in some of the trouble I've been in if I had somebody just to ask for some advice. And if we can't do it, let's hire somebody, use some of this money for somebody that can count. Really, that can get a budget and go back. I mean, I just don't think, I mean, I know it's hard. That's a lot more money, $1 million. I'll never have it, never will. But I know if I did, buddy, I'd be ripping that. Oh, Lord. You wouldn't see. I don't have to have phones. I don't have to have the finest things. And I still think that I'd still get the same respect if I was, you know, sometimes you just got to make do with what you've got. You don't like it, but you just got to make do. That's right. And I don't know how to solve these problems. I know we're going to have to pay these taxes, but I'm going to go kicking and screaming doing it. And I'm probably one of the first ones, too, that pays my taxes. Because you know why? Because I got 6 different envelopes. That's got to go for taxes. I'd like to have a new one, a new stove. I'd like to have a new this. I'd like to have, I put a little bit, I have checks and balances, and I study about it before I spend it, because something might happen. Have a rainy day fund. Lord have mercy. I'm just saying, if you ain't got it, you can't spend it. And I wish I know every one of y'all's got more education than I do and is smart. But I tell you, I have to manage my hill a whole lot better than this. I'd be probably living in one y'all's house. You just gotta spend what you got. And you don't always have to be the shiniest. We got a welcome center over there. It's 5-10 miles away from the exit. Who are we welcoming? We got a walking track. How many people have been on that walking track? And I mean, you got the nice rails on it. Are they knocking each other off? I mean, we got to keep all them weeds off of that. I know I have to cut all of them around my house myself. It costs money. And I'm just saying, if we just try to spend our money like it was yours, that you had. Would you buy it if it was in your money, in your pocket? Would you have to have that? If we started thinking about everybody, I clean houses, I use everybody's supplies like they were mine. I mean, I don't go in there and pour half a bucket of this and then say, well, I got to have some more. I'm out. I don't even buy paper towels. I use the dish rag. I wash them suckers. I get 1 roll a year, and I save them for company to come. Ask anybody that knows me. I'm just saying there's ways you can cut things. And I guess we're just frustrated. I apologize for my ignorant talking. But I just think a lot of it's just common sense. And I appreciate y'all letting me talk.
Everett, right?
I'm gonna pass.
Okay. Michael Evans.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass too. Everybody said what we all needed to say.
The last one is this Jeff Brown, Jerry Brown?
Hi, my name is Mr. Brown. I'm from Pleasant Shade. I've never heard of such a mess. First of all, you need to fire your accountant. I've never heard of such a stupid thing. And Mayor, I'm sorry, I didn't vote for you. I'm not going to vote for you again. I think you need to be recalled. I think every single one of you people need to be recalled. Mayor, be ashamed of yourself. Stand up here like you're high and mighty. You should get no money. Stay in your means. I have to.
This mayor didn't do it.
I'm sorry, man. You're probably a nice guy. but you need to step down.
This
You
man-
really do.
No.
Well, put that stuff. Oh, yeah, you do. Oh, yeah, you do.
No, this man didn't do it. That's right.
This man inherited this man.
Because they hit it.
That is the whole list. Is there anyone that came in late that would like 5 minutes to speak before we turn it back to our commissioners?
I would.
Yes, ma'am.
Rose Carter, I'm from Turkey Creek.
Yes, ma'am.
There are some things that I want to talk about that probably don't have anything to do with this exactly. But when we started taking in all these prisoners, did anybody do a study on this to find out what it was going to actually cost to keep these people? Was there an impact study done on, for an environmental impact that it is, for bringing all this trash into our community? Number one, we're going to have more land. We have to have more police officers. They drive their cars home. There's some things that could be cut. Do you know that the salaries here, take a look at the salaries here. A nephrologist at Vanderbilt starting out makes less than $69,000 a year. Think about that when you're looking at the salaries. There are just some things that have gone on that people need to take a good look at for our county. And we, as property owners, don't want to pay the bill for everyone. We want a wheel tax as soon as possible, and take a look at what's happening to our county. Thank you.
Anyone else before we turn this over to the commissioners and elected officials? Yes, ma'am.
Where can we find out what the salaries are, since we're the taxpayers who pay those salaries?
It would be, it's on our budget, which is, it's public knowledge. I mean, all you gotta do is ask for a open records request.
Okay, so it's not a website.
Not yet. We're going to get that. We will, eventually we're gonna get our budget loaded on that.
I like that idea. I just wanted to see if it was there already.
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else? All right, we'll go down the roll and give each commissioner a chance to speak if they want to. District 1, Shannon Green.
I'm District 1, Pleasant Shade. I was appointed when Jason Powell had to resign back in, I think it's February, wasn't it? How would you like to step into the mess that I stepped in? You know, everybody thought, you know, I went before the commissioners, and that's how I got voted in. And one of my thoughts that night was I told commissioners that I could either sit back and be part of the problem, or I could try to help be some of the solutions to the problem. This is not a problem that has started in the last 6 months, probably not even in the last 8 months. It's probably been going on 2 or 3 years. And you've got several other new commissioners out up here that are walking in the same thing I am. We as the commissioners are just asking to be patient with us, to let us come up with a solution. You know, none of us want to pay property taxes. All my family live in this county. They're all going to be affected. My parents still live in this, you know, they're older, on fixed income. My in-laws are on fixed income. So, I mean, none of us as commissioners are taking this lightly of passing property taxes and property tax. All we're asking as commission is just give us time. Let us figure out the problem. Keep in mind, not all of us was here when some of the spending was going on and stuff like that. And it was jokingly, and some of them got a kick out of it, I do come up for re-election in August of next year. So now I've got to go before the people next August and try to gain their vote. Ma'am, I will try to get out the community. I didn't this time because it was a quick thing.
I understand that, and it was
But,
nothing
you know,
against new commissioners or the new mayor. It was, and like I said, this has been going on for years.
You know,
And it's not your, it wasn't, did you something that
Right.
you did?
But I appreciate that, but, you know, a lot of people that haven't been keeping up with stuff on the inside are looking at it as this problem started right now. It didn't start right now. We're not gonna fix it right now. All I'm asking is, just give us a little time and be patient. Thank you.
I'm Reverend Reach, District 1. Just like everyone y'all sitting in here, I'm not happy about this property tax increase, but working with the Budget Finance Committee, I understand that we've got to do something. And whether it's through property taxes or however we tax, we've got to do something. We've got to do something kind of quick. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But this is where we're at. I also work as a school resource officer, and I see the faces of those parents, and they drop those kids off every morning at school. I see those kids come in. They have to eat too, you know. They have struggles. I understand these parents, and I talk to them. I've talked to many of the parents that stopped at our schools about what's going on. But let me encourage y'all, come to our meetings. We encourage y'all as citizens to come to the Budget Finance Committee meetings. We encourage you to be here for the County Commissioner meetings. This room ought to be full just like it is right now at every meeting that we have. Yeah. You ought to be here. You ought to be able to voice your opinion, get with your commissioners in your district and talk to them. I've talked to several in my district. I've talked to several in my district. District 1, to feed.
You have never talked to me.
You live in District 1?
You've never talked to my husband?
When I say I talked to several, I say I
Never
talked to
talked to my
everyone.
neighbor.
When I say I talked to several, I say I
Yeah,
talked
but
to
I've
everyone.
you've never even talked to me.
I sure do. I've coon hunted up Dean Hill.
Well, that's nice, but you've never talked to me.
How long have you been in that area?
30 years.
Well, I apologize if I've not been to your door and knocking on your door. I apologize. Again, I'm not in for a 59-cent property increase, but I have worked with the Budget Finance Committee. We have no more options. We're out of options at this point. Yes, ma'am.
Is this budget and finance committee just started?
I'm new to the Budget Finance Committee this year.
Okay, how
This is my
long has
first
the
year.
budget and finance committee been in action?
Chairman?
There you go.
Just
told you the options.
How long the whole Budget Finance
The
Committee?
budget finance committee should be responsible for budgeting and financing in a manner that comes out balanced.
I hope you understand that a problem has arose that I wasn't
I'm
aware
not
of.
blaming you, sir. I'm not
How
blaming
long
you.
has it been known about?
I just asked how
I
long.
found out a problem probably 6 months ago.
How long you been commissioner?
Sir, I'm
I'm
not
serving my
asking.
second term. But first on the Budget Finance Committee. okay?
How long has that committee been going is my question, because if there is such a committee, that their true focus is on budgeting and finance, then it should be a balanced budget today.
I totally agree with you.
So
I do get
how long
that.
has that committee been going on? Does anybody know?
I've been serving on the Budget Finance Committee going,
6 months, I know, but I'm talking about the committee that is in charge of the budget and finance. How long has that committee been in effect?
There's always been a budget and finance committee with every county commission, as far as I understand.
So what happened?
Nobody noticed $1 million was missing.
If I'm on a committee, I find out everything I'm responsible.
let me just say, I appreciate you coming, I appreciate your voice and your opinion. And I will listen to you, I promise you.
We need straight answers.
Order, listen now, this is not what we,
Yeah.
you got your chance to speak.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Your
Thank
issue, and that's just, that's that way, so thank you for explaining.
There you go.
I'm not silencing anybody, we had an order of how we were gonna do it, and that's what we're gonna do. It's not fair, you got your chance to talk, they get a chance to rebuttal, and then after this is over, and we conclude, you can talk amongst yourself. That's fine, that's what you should do as citizens, talk to your commissioners. But we set an order tonight to how we're gonna do this, we would appreciate it if you would stay in that order, so thank you. Mr. Givens?
My name's Terry Givens, District 1 Commissioner. This is my first term. I came on board in August. I reached out to my community. I'm sorry, ma'am, that I didn't come to your house.
None of my neighbors.
I apologize. I do. I apologize. Some of you I did come by, talk to. I've talked to several. I went to several houses. since the proposal of the 59 cents. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't get out to your house then either, okay? All I can say is just what Shannon said. Everybody needs to come out to these meetings, okay? I'm just down homeboy, just a homeboy that lived in this county my whole life. I've lived in the Hogtown community, from the defeated community, and you know, I want to do what's right for the community. I'm a voice for my district. What my district wants is what I'll vote. That's what I told when I reached out to go and get my 50 signatures in order to be a commissioner. I said, I'm a vote. I'm the word for my community, for my district. Okay? But this is what budget finances came up with in order to solve the problem. Okay? So all I can say is that any of these meetings, please come to them. So you already know what's going on. Don't find out in a week or two. You know, and then everybody shows up to a meeting. That's all I can say is just come out and
Nobody told us for months.
Nobody told us.
For a long time.
Not everybody gets the newspaper. and I get the
This has been hidden
newspaper.
for a long
In
time.
general, this community knew nothing about this till
Exactly.
a week ago, 3 weeks ago. Everybody's in shock, upset, troubled, worried, spent out, worn out. We see areas that can be trimmed. People would
Can't blame the
like
community for not
for the-
coming if we didn't know.
the cuts to come, then we'll do what we can, we'll help. You understand?
I understand. I have tried to outreach to my district. I've tried to put stuff on social media, because that's where everybody kind of, you know, tries to get their info from, and I have reached out and told people to contact me. I put my home number, my cell number, my email. I had basically 3 people reach out to me probably in the last 2 months.
So we're here, you're asking us as a town hall to voice our opinion. We voiced our opinion, we want to know about this finance meeting, how long has it went on, how long up until this point that y'all realize that y'all have mismanaged your money and keep rolling it on the books because it's projected when it's not been projected for all of these years. If it's not been projected 3 years ago, it's not going to be today. So why not 3 years ago, why wasn't it started to be adjusted and addressed then instead of today? You have to budget that. That's the reason that you have a budget in the finance committee. You have to bottom dollar. And if you don't have the funds, then you cut spending somewhere. You know, I think it's so ridiculous that I heard on the Insider last week that you want to cut an ambulance service. That is ridiculous. You know, this is a large county. You know, there's other ways that you can cut, whether it be somebody's job, and I understand that people doesn't want that. But there is things that you can cut to make the bottom dollar.
Okay?
And I don't think that lives needs
If
to
you
be
want
at
to look,
risk.
you want to look on a ambulance service, for instance, you want to cut 25%.
I don't want to cut the ambulance.
Okay,
I'm saying
but
we don't need to
that's where
cut
we've got,
lives.
that's where we've got to trim the fat as far as ambulance service, because there's nowhere else to trim it but
You're
south.
getting insurance money.
I think
You're getting
trim the
insurance
donated
money.
money before you trim the ambulances.
You're getting that insurance revenue money. You know, you may get a contraction adjustment, but you're getting.
I'm just saying, if you're going to cut, if y'all want us to take the 25%, and you're looking at every department, the only place that you can cut the 25%, 25% of the ambulance service is over $250,000, okay? How we cut the $250,000 off a budget without laying people off?
And you know, that may be what you have to
I'm
look
like,
at. You're
okay.
getting insurance revenue. You set those contracts with those insurance carriers of which you're on, right? You know, so you're getting that revenue. You know, it may not be what your director or your supervisor wants to make per se per hour, you may have to cut that some. But there's other options than making people have to pay more in tax money on their homes and things like that. That's not affecting everybody. You know, what would probably affect everybody is doing things on a wheel tax on your tax, where people have cars. You know, you're only affecting a small bit of people, and especially disabled or retired people. You know, where are they going to get that money? Their checks are going up. You know, so then they may be at the mercy when it comes tax time that, oh, well, I don't have money to pay. Now my property's going to go to the county, you know, whenever they can afford it, because they have no more income. They have no more rates. And I hope you can understand where I'm coming from.
You know, we're in the same shape you guys are. If money's not there to pay, you can't pay it. So what do you do? Where are we gonna go with this? You know, you want 20% of the people in the county that own property to take the brunt of this when it's not their fault.
It's not our behavior.
Reach out to all the people that live here in the county. You know, let them all in a little bit. If you know, drastic times requires drastic measures. So, hey, there's a lot of good people here in this county. I've lived here for 61 years.
Yes, sir.
If you ask people to do something, they might hit you. You try to stick something down their throat, you know, they're not going to take it. I don't blame them. I'm not even. This ain't something that just happened. It's been going on for 2 or 3 years. That guy right over there sat down and said it just a minute ago. We seen it in the paper back about a month ago. You're going to raise taxes 59 cents. That's what we found out about. You know, this ought to have been something taken care of, or we wouldn't have been here. You know, it ought to have been nipped in the bud about a year ago.
Here, here.
I'm gonna go ahead and sit down and let these other commissioners talk, but I can say nobody needs to point any fingers at our chairman up there, our mayor.
I agree.
Please, just give him some time, okay? Don't be basing what's going on right now, what's happened the last several years to him.
We're not. You're just hearing us right now. Yes, sir.
Do you folks have a budget?
Yes, sir.
Well, if you have a budget, how'd you go over it?
We hadn't went over the budget. We just didn't. There's just not enough revenue to support the budget that was passed.
I'm sorry, I'm hard to hear.
They passed their budget last year, and we do not have enough revenues to support that budget this year.
Well, if you knew how much revenue you was going to bring in, how could you overextend yourself in the budget?
Great question. We weren't here. Most of us.
I personally think we need a complete investigation of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, I mean, surely you know some answers, but nobody's giving us the answers, and I'm sure that some of the people, commissioners, are on that same, committee that all this happened, and, I mean, we deserve to know something. We really do. Nobody's saying that.
They'll be coming around in a minute to speak their turn. District 1, like you said, Glenn's new. The gentleman that was on the Budget Finance Committee is not back, so Glenn took that spot this year. We'll move on to District 2. Billy Bass, would you like to speak?
I'm Billy Bass, I'm with District 2. I understand your concerns, problems. I don't want tax increase myself. I've served on the court here, I think 8 years, going on 12. First year on the Budget and Finance Committee. You talk about cutting line items. We've gone through and cut some line items already. We've cut several $1,000s, probably $500,000 out of the budget already on some issues. We've cut some of the charitable organizations down. We've cut part of that down. If you talk about charitable organizations, you cut them all, it's $50,000. About all.
How many police cars have bought this year? How many new police cars have they bought this year? You know, they build cars nowadays to run 300,000.
We've got none on the budget by next year.
Do what?
None on the
I
budget.
ain't
to
want
be
to ask
bought
you, how many
next
you bought this year?
year. They were in the budget to buy. But listen,
Sir, I got one question.
go ahead.
I just like to understand. Has somebody committed a felony?
No, not that we know of, no.
Is anybody checking to see?
That's right.
The state auditors look over our budget and says that our budget's right. We have a state, what you call it, Rogers. CPAS comes in and advises us all on this, so we've got several people that look on it.
How did all them miss this?
They haven't all missed it. They've noted that we've been in financial strain or stress, yes. But well, let me get to some issues.
Yes,
okay?
please, Mr. Bass.
There's several departments that is in the county that the state requires you, if you give them $2 million last year, you've got to give them at least $2 million next year. You can't cut them unless they say they'll take a cut. Okay? There's 5 different departments: schools, roads, sheriff, library,
and
and election commission. You can't cut unless they tell you that they'll take a cut.
Has anybody asked them to take a cut?
They weren't meeting their estimations and their budget of what they were supposed to be getting in their revenue, then they shouldn't have needed to be asked. They're the heads of those
The
departments.
budget that was set for
They should have gone forward and said, we're not meeting the criteria, we have a problem, let's not
The
accept everything.
budget that was
And
set
talk to them.
this year was set as a balanced budget. Yes, we knew we was going to take some out of the fund balance, but we didn't know we was going to have to take as much. We had a lot of revenue that didn't come in. The inmates for the last 3 years have been bringing in over $1 million. Do good to bring in $600,000 this year. So that's one issue, a low revenue coming in on that, but we expected it to come in higher because it has been coming in higher.
As it was coming, you should have been able to see that it wasn't too much and therefore make adjustments accordingly.
We did. We noticed this in January and February and started slowing down on spending, and we have stopped spending in the last 2 months.
No spending's been doing that other than what's...
We've took 3 ambulances out of service because we don't have the money to build them, to supply them. We've turned down purchase orders, every time we turn around. If it's not been an outright emergency or a life, we've stopped. Yes, ma'am.
So the problem is, I can tell you what the problem is.
Wait. She was first.
I'm sorry, but did I understand you right? You knew this problem back 6 months ago, and everybody's now just finding out?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I brought it to our commissioners, and anybody here will tell you I have been open and honest with
And I
them.
understand that you and a few others just came in, but somebody needs to be held accountable.
Did you know this when you took office?
No, ma'am.
You're talking about the part of the budget that we're talking about, the general fund budget. We're not talking about basically the schools, we're not talking about the road department, we're talking about the general fund budget. Over 50%
How do we know we don't have problems with the other?
of your expenses in general fund balance comes out of the sheriff's department and out of the ambulance service. That makes up about 52% of the total budget for the year.
Who was
So do you want,
projecting the inmates then?
do you want, sir?
Projecting the inmates, because there was a projection of how many inmates we were going to take in as a county?
77.
So who was responsible for projecting that number?
It's, I guess, the Budget and Finance Committee from years past. But for 3 years, it's come through. But this year, we're carrying over 140 prisoners in the jail now, averaging 140. Only 45, 50 maybe be state prisoners that we need to take in. We've been taking in 70-something. Well, you got more county prisoners down there now is one thing. You can't take in as many state prisoners. So if you
Somebody
take in,
projected that number.
well, for 3 years it's come through,
Yes, sir.
but it hasn't this year. So you would expect it.
Who projected?
So
He's saying though, there's more people that's in our county that's getting arrested, that's taking up a spot, we can't take in outsiders, that's what he's saying.
And that's
that's
a
part
shame. We need to clean our county up.
Exactly.
But I mean, looking at cutting, you're going to cut. If you're going to cut, you're going to be cutting. We can't touch the sheriff unless he agrees to it. The ambulance service would have to be cut a certain percent.
What part can't you cut? What, you can't cut salaries, is that right?
We can't cut we can't cut what we get from the sheriff's department as a year spent on anything. If we give him $3 million, we got to give him $3 million next year unless he decides not to take it.
Have we done, his budget is absolutely right and his projections are right? Have we had a forensic accountant go through all of the departments and say that you're budgeting in all these
Well, the
departments?
sheriff has not gone over his budget. The sheriff has not gone over his budget.
Who did? Who went over?
Nobody's gone over.
We're probably gonna be under budget to what was budgeted this year as far as
Well,
spending.
why not take some of that money and use it somewhere else?
If you get $3 million, if you budget $3 million, do you have to spend that $3 million?
They do not.
Okay, so if it's not forced spending, can we encourage our departments to say, hey, we are forced by the state to budget this money, but let's not spend this money? Is that a possibility?
They normally turn in money at the end of the year.
Do they?
Yes.
They turn it in.
It goes back in, what's not spent goes back in the general fund, yes.
So we can't ask the police department to perhaps make some small adjustments on their.
Well, the question is, what do you want to give up? Your police department, your people going out, taking care of the crime? You want to give up your ambulances? You want to give up your SRO officers at the schools? You want to give up your SRO officers at schools?
You give up all things to make it work.
Like I told you, over 50% of the budget comes from ambulance service and sheriff's department.
One thing I'll say is, if I drive from Bonnell to Carthage, I pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 law enforcement agencies in a county of 20,000. 5. You got Gordonsville, Carthage, South Carthage, Tennessee, and Smith County. So I honestly feel like we've got, and I understand that you have to budget this amount, but I feel we can make some cuts in that area because we've got plenty of law enforcement right now.
Yes.
Just saying. And we don't have a lot of inmates.
We don't have a lot of what?
We don't have the inmates that we're reporting in, like we were reporting in.
We've got a 128 bed facility and we're holding over 140. So we've got more than what we
Has that been the case the whole time?
It has for the past year. It has for over the past year.
Obviously, the law enforcement. Obviously, it's not the mayor's fault, this is the planning and finance committee's fault. Okay? They're the ones that dropped the ball. They're the ones that should have to give up their salaries. They're the ones that are actually the problem because it's not, I don't think you guys get it. It's not that we object to things where they're being spent, although the cuts need to be made now. But we object to the fact that you didn't project the income accurately enough, and you lost $1 million.
You want us to bail you out?
And you want the people in this county are not rich, and you want them to bail you out because you screwed up.
I'm not asking for a bailout, I'm just.
That's what it is.
The mayor is not at fault here, but unless he's transparent, unless this committee is transparent, and unless they take action to deal with this problem in some more amicable way than raising the taxes on these people, then they are going to be responsible. Because right now we know there's a problem. Right now that problem needs to be dealt with, and it's going to be dealt with by cutting the police and ambulance budget. It's going to be dealt with by you guys living within your means And I think the budget should be made public. I don't know.
The budget coming up, the county commissioners have took it, decrease in pay down to what state minimum requires.
We don't get paid.
So,
Did those department heads get a salary raise?
that's mandated by the state.
$40,000 raise.
The state cities?
The elected officials got a raise, yes. On this upcoming year, that's mandated by the state. And if your and it's based on population, and if your population goes over 121,000, it'll go up higher than what it is now. So, when the next census comes in.
Did you ask any of them to take a pay cut?
Sir?
Did you ask any of them to take a pay cut?
You can't.
These people that just got these raises from the state mandated?
The state elected officials, the people that run for office, the sheriff, the mayor, the trustee, the register of deeds, they are the state mandated officials that have to have, that the state mandates to pay them a certain amount.
I understand that. That wasn't my question. My question to you was, did you ask any of these people to take a pay cut based on the budget?
You can't ask them to take a pay cut.
Why
It's
not?
state law.
That's
State law.
You voluntarily take a pay cut?
We're getting out of control. We've done really good. Let's
If you'd like to talk to me, I'll give you my phone number. If you want to talk to me, 615-489-3912. I'd be glad to talk to you. Come by the funeral home here in Carthage after 9 o'clock. I'll usually be there. I'll talk to you anytime. Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Bass.
Billy, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
I'm from your district,
Yes,
and I have worked at Riverview Hospital for the last 40 years, and I've been a department head, and that's the only budget process and spending process that I know. So could you explain to us, they said this has been happening over a period of 2 or 3 years, and we're in this spot today, $1.5 million.
Your major problems occurred this year with the decrease in funding.
So it's not been happening over the last 2 or 3 years?
It may have been brought up where we've not had a tax increase over the last 2 or 3 years.
But the last 2 or 3 years, maybe we spent more money than we should have on a lot of things to have had more money in our general fund.
Amen.
Okay, so let's look at it from that perspective. What is the process? Melody Odom is the lab manager of the laboratory, and I'm the department head, and I want to buy a new piece of equipment, and it looks like I was budgeted $1,000 for that equipment, and I go to my supervisor, to the administrator, and say I'm ready to buy that equipment. Well, he's going to look at my department operations report, and he's going to look at my historical spending, expenses, revenue for then, and he's going to say, oh great, you're over budget on your revenue and your expenses are under budget, and wow, you got enough money, let's go ahead and buy it. Or he's going to say, we're not meeting our budget, our projections of revenue for the past 6 months. Maybe we can wait till the next quarter and see what's going on, but we just can't pull that money out right now. So what is the process for the county? Because I'm budgeted $3 million, do I just get to go ahead and get that? Does somebody have to approve that PO? Does I have to take that to the committee? Do they have to say, yes, you can buy 10 cases of paper, but you really can only afford 5? I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
I understand.
How did, that must have been happening over the last 2 or 3 years to not have a amount in our general fund. So what is the process for that? Who approves that? Who says that's okay? Who says it's not okay? It seems to me that somebody should have been saying, no, yeah, you got it in your budget and it's on paper in black and white, but we're not seeing that cash money and we can't do it.
He's just said the last 2 months we've been doing that.
I know, but...
And before that 2 months, it's been talked about, discussed that watch what you're spending.
Yes, I
stay within
understand.
your budget. Don't spend it, you don't
But
have to.
who has the final say? I'm not talking about the last 6 months. I'm talking about the 2, 3 years ago that it's been mentioned, that who has the final say? If I want to buy an ambulance, who signs off and says, yes, you can buy it?
They would come to the committee and then it'd be Emergency Services Committee and then the Budget Finance Committee.
Okay,
and then
who on the Budget Finance Committee was
The
supposed to?
24 commissioners didn't vote to approve that as well. They just made a recommendation. The 24 commissioners approved that budget.
The Budget and Finance Committee will either approve it or disapprove it, and then carry it to the 24 commissioners and say, if we approve it, we tell them we approve it. If we disapprove it, we tell them we disapprove it. And then the 24 commissioners vote on whether to allow them to buy it or
But
not.
what is the process for you to look at, be it Budget Finance or be it the commissioners, to say, we got enough money to do it, or maybe we better hold off on that? Who says that?
The
Just
24
because you got it in the budget doesn't mean you get it.
The 24 commissioners would do that on the purchases and such.
So is it safe to say that there has been some, I don't know what term I want to use, not really digging down into it to see if we really have the money to spend on the nice things? Or the increases in salaries? I mean, something got overlooked somewhere, somehow. And I think we just want to know what the process is and how that happened.
Well, if we had the 400,000 from inmates and the 400,000,
Yes, I understand.
400,000 more from the revenue from ambulance service or something like that that was expected to come in.
But why did
then-
you keep buying things, having expenses when you didn't have the money? It doesn't matter
Well,
what the
it's been stopped.
projections are.
It's been stopped.
Yeah, but in 6 months.
Stop now.
They keep it stopped.
Well, in next year's budget, there's nothing in the budget to buy police cars, ambulances.
You still didn't answer my question. How many was stopped though? How many was stopped this year?
7.
7 new police cars. And how much was that?
190.
50,000, 60,000 apiece?
191,000, something like that, for all 7. And it's bought off the state bids.
What checks and balances are in place now, what oversight when we're moving on from happening? Have we got those in place? Have we figured out what?
Can we, I heard your question, can we get our commissioners done? Because I'll speak at the end on what I'm going to do as far as that, what we're going to do as part of our question. Ms. Greta, would you like to speak? Listen, let's let them talk and move through, or, and then that way we get this done and move on.
I'm Greta Kirby. I'm from District 2, Turkey Creek area. We'll take a little poll. I want you to tell me how you feel about this. What would you be willing to do without? I would like to know, I want to take this down so I can cut. Would you be willing to, let's shut down some parts of the government? Would you be willing to shut down the physical fitness center in South Carthage?
Yes.
Yes. Physical fitness.
And sell the property.
Okay.
Cut that power.
What about the Senior Citizens Center?
Don't send it to anybody's brother-in-law.
Would you like to shut that down? Close that down? Anybody? The Senior Citizens Center in South
We're gonna
Carthage.
take care of our elderly.
Anybody want to shut that down?
No.
All right. What about this facility here? What about the jail and the courthouse? We'll shut that down. Got it? That's right, you're gonna have it.
We're not asking you to shut it down, we're asking you to manage it.
What about the police department? What about the police department? Absolutely. What about the ambulance service? What about the ambulance service? How much you want to see it cut?
If the ambulance service is not making money, it needs to be cut.
Well, what's going to happen when somebody calls 911? What's going to happen then? Tell me, what's going to happen then? Everybody's going to be yapping and screaming, well, I call 911. Nobody came.
Here to do it.
We got to shut down 2 if we had a big crisis, cut the 2 out that's sitting in the parking lot.
Cut down what?
I heard Mr. Mason say we've already cut 2 ambulances this time.
Yeah, we had to, because, let me tell you something, I
Well,
sat
that's
down,
what I'm
I
saying.
sat
We
on
have a
every one of
crisis
these
system
budget and
covered.
finance committee meetings, and I saw everybody here go line by line by line by line, and it was cut, 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 cut. And then, once we got through with that, and we saw all these had to be closed down, closed down, closed down, and then it got to the property tax, and then it got to the state coming in and taking us over. And so this is why we are here. Now, I'll tell you, let me simplify it for you. There were 3 areas here that is why we're here that got hit so bad. That was the police department, that was the ambulance service, and then there was one mathematical error that they found in an audit last year. It was a deficit of $180,000 when it was straightened out, and the audit from the state caught it last year. That was a numerical error that they caught, and we all knew about it. We knew that those were the very 3 things that have caused this deficit to come about. That's the simplest way I can explain it to you. And now, to straighten it out, and we are where we are. I just started this job. I didn't do it. I'm just here to try to help straighten it out. But I can tell you, we got to do something here to straighten this out. We can't just pretend that it didn't happen. And so we got to have money now, not, yesterday or wherever. I mean, we got to have it now, because if we don't, something's gonna.
You're saying you knew about it last year. When did we know about it?
Have to be cut down.
We just knew about it now. You say you're
We're
talking
just
about it
finding
last
out. We just found out recently what all has
year.
hit
You just
us.
said last year.
Trust me. Trust me.
I'm just using your words.
What do you mean? I didn't say that
You said
last year.
last year you knew about it.
No, I did not. No, I did not.
Listen, last year meaning last calendar year, not last budget year. This is last calendar year. We got our audit report in October when we found out that our fund balance was not where it should be.
Yeah, it was the audit done June 30th, 2018, but I wasn't even elected and didn't come on till September. So, by the time that the audit's done and the results come back to us, months have passed, okay? Months have passed. So this didn't come to the mayor here until just not that long ago. And the first thing when on the Budget and Finance Committee of things that we sat in on, he said, and I sat there and listened to him, he said, this will never happen again as long as I am mayor. And that's why CTAX is going to come in. They're going to start auditing all of our records constantly to make sure that everything is in order. We're not going to allow this to ever happen again. Now, what's done is done. It's a horrible thing, but he didn't cause it. I didn't cause it. We didn't cause it. The past administrations have caused it. It's their fault.
You were talking about, we cut the
Now you're gonna open the bank.
deputies and everybody go out home at night, back and forth to work, and we furnish gas for.
We have discussed that. We just had that in a personnel committee meeting, and we talked about that. And the only reason that one of them was doing that was because he had a lot of emergency equipment in his car that he gets called at home, and he has to run to where he's going, and he can't have time to go back to Carthage and get a different vehicle and come all the way back to the emergency. If he's got it in his car, he can go directly to it. It's time.
Everybody else is parking their vehicles now, they're not taking it home.
Now it's not going on, it's one in every school in the county.
I would ask that we cut, if you're asking for cuts, that we cut things that the private sector can do itself. There are things where the government is competing with the private sector. And it doesn't mean that I'm against senior citizens. One day I'm going to be a senior citizen and probably be in a senior citizen home. But there are private sectors. There's a private sector senior citizen center right across the street. There's a gym in South Carthage that competes with it. These are private sector things that can be done. And it's not saying we don't want to cut an ambulance service, but maybe we can cut back on some of it. We don't want to cut our police department, but we can cut back on some of it.
So how many of you would be in favor of cutting contributions to all charities? All of them, every one of them.
It's not your money to give.
Every one of them, all right? Now, that's everything. This is going to be everything, okay?
I don't have money, you don't have money.
It's CASA, it's some of the other things, it's Pregnancy Help Center, it's the neighborhood centers like Pleasant Shade and like the Lancaster Community Center, all of that's going to be cut. To zero.
We should all voluntarily
Is that what
donate
you
charities
want?
at our free will. Let us help the charities, and it'll incentivize those charities to go out and ask for our dollars. I give to a lot of these charities, and I love them, they're phenomenal.
Okay,
Me saying
so-
the government doesn't want them, doesn't mean that I'm against it.
No charity, no
Potential
charity.
get grant money and something like that for drugs. I mean, they've got to be able to survive themselves. The money is gonna be gone, but they need to look for funding money, outside source funding money. They can do all that, nobody's stopping them from doing that, but we can't pay what we don't have. End of story.
Noted.
Ma'am, I'd like to say, I've been laid off from my job 13 months now. I worked in Navy. And I'm not taking any contributions from anything. I don't need anything because I had money in the bank. I looked ahead. That's all y'all need to do is look ahead. Now, I've heard everybody say that it's not our fault it fell out of the sky.
Yeah, kind of did.
I inherited it. No, it didn't fall out of the sky.
Well, it didn't fall on my sky because I wasn't here doing it, but.
Well, who did it? Is it somebody in here that was
Well,
here?
past administrations didn't mind stuff.
There's also commissioners here.
That's all I can tell you. It's a bad thing, it's a horrible thing, and on top of that, the county has a good bit of debt too. There's bonds and loans and things, a lot of interest having to be paid on that. That's part of this budget, which is why we're hurting, and that, you know, we're just trying to find the best way to fix this mess.
I think
Not
Mr.
by
Bowman's
this.
idea was a good idea. His
Excuse me?
proposal was good. Mr. Bowman's proposal was a good proposal.
Right on.
So I think you should consider that.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Good evening. So I'm Jason Stewart. I was elected last August here in District 2, County Commissioner District 2. Kind of not passing the buck off on anybody, but on me. Like I said, I personally found out about this second week in May. That's when it was brought to my attention. Probably 2 days before the mayor came back. When I found out that we were in the situation we were in. Last I was aware that we had probably $1.1 million in the general fund was good to go. Was what I was aware of at that point in time. I kind of.
How can it get that far off?
Well,
Who's looking at it? Not somebody.
And I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But we kind of clearing a few things up, I guess. The Budget Finance Committee is made up of county commissioners here in the room. We're 3 county commissioners on the per district. 1 county commissioner per district is on the Budget Finance Committee. Whatever the Budget Finance Committee recommends is usually what's brought forward for the entire county commission. The county commission then votes on that entire budget. That's how a budget is passed here in the county. I was here sitting in the chair that you're sitting in watching the last year's budget when it was passed. I wasn't a county commissioner at that time, but I sat here and watched it pass. And like I said, in my understanding, the best I remember, that they were passing it with the intent that we were going to have $1.1 million in surplus in the general fund at that point in time, after they paid all the bills on the budget. It's since now come to our attention that that's not going to be the case, and this county is in some pretty bad shape at this point in time. I think everybody here will acknowledge that. I've talked to a lot of people over the last month since this was about. Had a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. Me personally, do I support the 59-cent property tax increase? Absolutely not. I don't support that one bit. I think we as a county commission, it's our job, our burden to keep that tax burden off the citizens of the county. That's our whole purpose to be here. But at the same point in time, in order for this county to continue to operate efficiently, the way this county should operate, not has been operating, the way it should operate, we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to do something. We've got no choice at this point in time. Is that a property tax increase? I hope not. I certainly hope not. And I think that there's other answers out there to go about doing that. 100%. But at the same time, like I said, we've got to do something. And that's why I'm glad to see everybody come out and hear their voices, hear their opinions, and give us some ideas of what we need to do.
Can I ask you one question?
Yes, sir.
If this is passed, the property taxes don't come around, they send that, what, in October? You know, if you're on out payment in October, but you got February, you say you gotta have money immediately, so what good's that gonna do?
that would be.
Because I can tell you, I can assure you, you're not getting my money until February. It's fast.
I'm right there with you.
So, I mean, so what is he gonna do? I mean,
Well, and that question is, I'm kind of rolled over that they were presenting $20,000 in the budget. But if we pass the budget July 1, then we can look at a promissory note of, and that's something I've never really agreed with, and I found out about this, this county had been borrowing that money to get by every September or so, $1 million note until the taxes come in February. We can't get that to run the county until the budget is passed. If we don't pass the budget by August 31st, that's when the state of Tennessee will come in and set it for us. So that we've got a kind of a short window here to get something done.
we should do a lottery, the state of Tennessee does it every week. People stand in line to buy lottery tickets for, more money from the county than others. There's a lot of ways to get money if you go out there and try it, but this is the easy way out, you know.
Can we get an interim budget? I mean, does it have to be the full whole year budget? Can we buy ourselves some time to make sure that this is thoroughly investigated, it's thoroughly checked out, and that it doesn't feel so rushed?
Like I said, I'm still trying to learn the system here myself. I don't know if they do an interim.
We can pass what they call a continuing budget resolution, which goes on your last year's numbers.
So it would give us some time to find alternative ways as well as look at this again.
It gives you about 2 months.
If property taxes are due in February, real tax in March, how much time is that actually going to save us?
Well, the thing, and this is what has been told me as far as the wheel tax comes into play. We put that, and I do think the wheel tax is a whole lot fire tax and a property tax everywhere. You know, 6,500 citizens in this community when we got 21,000 people living in this community. So I agree with that, absolutely not. Property tax is going to get probably 90, or wheel tax rather, is probably going to get 90% of the people in this community.
Sales tax, get everybody.
Exactly, well, exactly. So I do 100% agree with that. Wheel tax, my understanding, in order to get that back on, it's going to have to go to referendum in March the 20th and be voted on and passed by the citizens of this county. And that's going to take time in order to get that done. Even if it passes, we're probably looking to start collecting on that maybe July of next year, is my understanding. So you're looking at a whole year right here. This county has nothing, has absolutely nothing. And when it comes to that point, you're talking about shutting a lot of things down.
That's only 4 months between the end of February and the first.
I'm talking about from July, this July to July next year.
I know.
Somebody may be looking at that.
And I agree with you. That's where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Daniel Cripps.
Daniel Cripps, District 3. I want to say that I've always been pretty conservative on my vote and just try to do what's right for the communities. Thank you.
Shannon?
I'm Shannon Minchie, District 4, Rock City, Rome area. And I've lived in this county my whole life, most of it in Tanglewood, and I moved to Rock City around 2000, so I've been there about 19 years. And I come on this a year and a half in the previous term. I was appointed also, and I'm considered newly elected this year just because I had to go through the election process and I'm not incumbent. And a lot of this blame, I mean, we're getting aimed for it. And it's not, this man sitting up here, it's not the mayor, it's trickle down from previous. And all of y'all, I've been listening, I mean, y'all want new people in. Well, half of the full commission, almost half, is probably is new. And half of the budget and finance has new members on it. I've been on it, I've just now been put on it. And we've come into this, and we're doing our absolute best to try and work it out, because I'm not happy about it either. I pay taxes just like y'all do. And just like Mr. Green said, I mean, we're just asking to be patient, and we're trying our best to fix what we was dealt. And I've talked to several people in my district, and my number's public. I mean, I'll talk to anybody who wants to talk in my district or not, so. That's my take on it.
I listened to the Smith County Insider, and there are some things, and I can't remember, it was put up on a slideshow. There are a lot of new people, so going forward, we
Our whole
get,
district, my whole district is all.
so there's a lot of new people, didn't know the old process, learning the new and wanting to change it to make it better. So going forward, once we get this resolved somehow within the county and the people, what things are going to be in place so that it won't happen again. And the statement's been made, it won't happen again, and I take the mayor for his word. So what kind of things are y'all going to do differently?
It's just digging and cutting down these line items and making sure that everybody stays in their budget and no over projections versus what we're bringing in. I mean, we got.
What about the
like all y'all
CTAS
saying.
person? Is that somebody that can be involved
Yes.
with going forward?
Yes, very much.
Because I listened to that, and he made a lot of good points and seemed very willing to help and do things. So is that somebody that the county can use? It's free too,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we will,
Okay.
well, they're not free, they're taxpayer.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you don't have to pay him a consultation
No, ma'am.
fee
No,
or
ma'am.
anything.
There's nothing with the government gives you.
So, get some things in place once it's resolved and gets our fund balance up to not make it happen again would be, something that the new people can be looking at for us.
Absolutely. Erica?
I just wrote out a couple things. First, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I know it's been a long meeting, but it's great to see that everybody here is involved and is wanting to know more about it. The fact that we have so many new people, new commissioners, a new mayor, is probably the reason why you're even hearing about it at all. This is not a problem that is brand new. It is a problem that one of the first conversations that Mayor Mason had with the comptroller, it was very evident that it had been told to the previous administration, and it was never uncovered. So the fact that Mayor Mason is your new mayor, he brought it to light, and nobody's trying to cover anything up now. So at least one thing that we got out of this is that there's some transparency happening. You asked the question, what are some things we're going to be doing differently? Besides just cutting down things in the budget that don't need to be there, the donations do not need to be in the budget. I don't believe in being charitable with other people's money. It's not our money, it's your money. It's my money too, but it's not the government's money. There's things that we can raise revenues on. The Ag Center is it's a loss for us. That is being looked at right now, ways to raise revenue with that. I book convention centers through just different functions that I do. We are not using our Ag Center to its fullest potential. It is a wonderful facility, and what you either charge for it is too little, the fact that, contracts that we have in place. And there's a lot of, over the years, there were a lot of deals made, kind of like gentlemen's agreements, so you can use this, you can use that. That stuff's gonna stop.
Amen.
The fitness center, that is something that the private sector, it is directly competing with a private sector industry. There's no reason for us to be in the fitness center industry. You're losing money on it. That is a building that we own, that we could use for something else. We're renting offices for the UT Extension offices. It isn't there. That's money there. An oversight committee has been talked about, not just the budget and finance committee, budget and finance is the commissioners, right? It's a commissioner from each district, and it can rotate through the years, or it might be some of the same people. On top of that, I know Mayor Mason has talked about putting into place a financial oversight committee that would consist of people from the community.
Yes.
People with
Yes.
jobs that are I think that is a great thing. Centralized purchasing was something that was brought up. the fact, I mean, one of the great things is that we have gotten a lot of good ideas and a lot of stuff going forward, whether we pass whatever kind of tax passes, whatever happens with this budget, there's so much that we could be doing better. Centralized purchasing, where you have somebody that's making sure we're getting the best deal for everybody and getting it in bulk. Combining resources for our maintenance departments and our gas so that not each separate thing has their own department. The discount for the early tax payment, that's a great thing. That helps with cash flow throughout the entire year. If you pay your property taxes in October, you get a 2% discount. If you pay in November, you get a 1% discount. That helps people because I don't like property taxes.
Is that going in place?
That's going to be talked about. There is a resolution that is going into this Monday, the meeting, so that will be voted on. It's separate from the levy. It's a whole different thing. So I think that needs to pass, whether we do property tax increase or not, whether we
If
do
you do a
sales tax
property
or not.
tax increase, that'd just be a waste of time, but nobody's gonna pay it till the last minute.
Yeah. Well, I mean, y'all heard from my husband, right? There's, property taxes is not gonna be good for me.
I'll get 2%.
Yes.
But it does give you the ability to pay early.
It does give you the ability to pay early, and it helps the county with their cash flow problem, because we're not getting, the county isn't getting all their money in right before February. You get it throughout the year more.
If you had the wheel tax, it'd come in on that way.
Correct. Yep.
So that would give you the balance budget.
But, I mean, the discount for taxes is good one way or the other. It's not dependent on whether we pass a property tax increase or not.
I have a question.
It's
If
a
we
good
pay
one.
somebody to clean all of our county buildings, we have a cleaning staff.
Yes.
I mean, and food staff, yeah.
Why don't we let the prisoners do that?
Real,
And cut that out. Let the prisoners clean and pick up the trash and do all that stuff that we pay someone to do. They can help on the roads.
I know that sometimes they come out and pick up trash and
But
stuff.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
we better basis because there's a lot of need in this county.
And you bring up a very good point. There is a lot of need in the county. So she brought up a good point. There is a lot of need in the county. And so there was a lot of pushback, there has been pushback for years about, I've never agreed with the fact that we contribute to charities with taxpayer dollars. But there are a lot of organizations throughout the county that do really good things. No one has ever said that these organizations don't do good things. But the good thing is, if we don't donate to them, you still can. I still can, as an individual. They can go out and fundraise. There are a lot of really good organizations throughout the county that can fill in some of these spots that maybe, we're taking over. I mean, the Senior Citizen Center isn't really a nursing home. It's not like that they're taking care of them. It's kind of like activity center. That's something that some of these churches need to be stepping up and filling those roles. That's something that some of these people, we need to step up and fill those roles.
What I'm speaking about is, not just the prisoners we have, but young offenders and people like that, nonviolent offenders, who are housing, in jails that.
Well, we don't house juveniles, but yes,
I'm talking about, the whole system.
Well, and we do have some of that set up for like a volunteer service coordinator, Junior Nesbitt, and because I work on the Depot project, I work with Keep Smith County Beautiful. They come out all the time. Whenever we have work days, we are full of teens, mainly vaping, but they're not violent offenses, and they give back to their community. I think my kids do it, and they're not even in trouble.
I know,
Most of the time.
I'm talking about, on a larger scale, because with senior citizens going, all these areas where, there's a big need, and these people, whether they're juveniles or whether they're adult offenders, that's the way they can give back to this community, and rather than sit, and also it helps that they don't cause problems. If you take them out and they're, picking up garbage or helping a senior citizen or whatever, they're, expelling their energy so that you don't have these problems that
Community garden has been, that's been a great idea. I know Junior Nesbitt has been a real push for that, wants to do that. And that's less money that you have to spend on food.
And Macon County does too.
Yes, so there are creative solutions like that you don't throw money at a problem necessarily right away. You get the community involved in some way. And, I mean, that's stuff that's come out that we can start doing, the capital projects fund. We borrowed money for so many years. I don't know how you guys run your household, we kind of do a Dave Ramsey type thing. We know we've got money, we know eventually a car is gonna need replacing, right? So I kind of put a little bit of money away in an envelope over time for that. Capital projects, we know that there's stuff in this county that we're gonna need to buy. We know there's some building projects we're gonna need to do. It's not a surprise. It's not a shock that a car will break down. It's not a shock that we're gonna eventually need a new ambulance. It's not a shock that we're gonna need to fix up parts of buildings. But for so long, we've just waited until it happened, and then you guys borrow money, right? Then you have to pay that back, and you have to pay interest. So if we can put aside some money, a little bit at a time, to pay that down, that's a much better way of doing this. I know a lot of you do understand what's happening, but like the way I kind of described it is if it was my household budget. And what has happened here, it's not that somebody embezzled money, it's not that, there was one thing, it was that, let's say my electric bill is $300 a month, right? And 1 month it was $150. So then I just budget like it's $150 all the time. And then I start pulling all that extra $150 out of my general fund, my emergency fund, to cover that. That's how our general fund, our emergency fund slowly gets chipped away and chipped away. The exponential growth, this was exponential like decrease. It was just gone. We get to this point where, we thought we were supposed to have 1 point however many million in there, and now we've got nothing. So we kept pulling from that, and we weren't budgeting for what the costs were. And the other side of it, the revenues, like with the jails and the courthouse and the ambulance service, we're expecting to get $1,000. I'm expecting to get $1,000 in for my next paycheck. I only get $600 in. Well, I can't spend like I've got $1,000 coming in, but we have to. So that's something that I know. This is my first year. We do budget amendments. Apparently, that is not something that most counties do the way we do it, as much as we do it. That will stop. I don't think I ever asked enough questions until I realized the situation that we're in. In April, I was asked to come to budget and finance meeting, and I realized what was happening. I think a lot of what happened was things not being communicated down the line. Like this was not a problem that was brand new. People not asking questions, even if it wasn't their job. I'm not on budget and finance. Since April, I've gone to every budget and finance meeting. I need to know what's going on. Because the thing is, you have a budget and finance committee, you have 8 people on it. That is a recommendation. It is not final. The 24, or in this case, it's 23 commissioners, that's where it becomes final. And those 24, not the 8 that are in that room, all of them have to be educated on what's happening. And I think that that's happened a lot more this year than it ever has in the past. Yes.
My problem is with the commissioners who were involved in this problem to begin with. And now they're still here.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that is a real big mistake, and I think it's really pretty disgusting.
Yes,
the people that have a part in causing this problem are still sitting as commissioners.
That's why I have a huge problem with the property tax increase, because you can throw $1 more at the situation. Why stop at 59 cents? Throw $1 at it. You're still going to be in this situation or worse if the behavior doesn't change.
Right.
You cannot out-earn stupidity.
Yes, ma'am. You're correct. It's like if you win the lottery, but you make bad decisions, you're going to just make them on a much larger scale.
I think they should have to
Quit
resign.
digging.
I think they should have to resign. I really do. If the commissioners here that were involved in this problem that now everybody here has to deal with, then they should resign. Because they caused this problem, and this is why we're in this state, and it's not the new people, it's not anybody that serves Smith County, it's those people. If you voted for that, and you let all this stuff go, then you should resign. That's what you should do.
And I definitely want everybody in this room and everybody that's watching at home, I think it's great that we have so much participation and so much input this year. I want next year, you'll be here at our budget meetings in June and July. Next year after that, June and July. Next year after that, June and July. And then when we get to the election, remember this. Remember this meeting right here.
It would be nice to have debates. If people were running for, I don't care, commissioner, whatever you're running for, I think that people should stand up and answer people's questions before they're elected. Not a little piece in the newspaper. I want to know where these people are at. You know, I really do, because we all have to now deal with this, you know? And it's not fair to anyone really here, except the people that were involved in making this problem. And I thank you.
And if it happened under Michael Nesbitt's reign of terror, then y'all need to take and prosecute his butt for it. Or whoever is responsible. It ain't been happened before, y'all. Prosecute them.
I think there definitely needs to be answers coming from.
Answers nothing, they need to be prosecuted. And if it takes it, take it out of their pockets. Garnish you their check, garnish you their money. Take it out of their pocket.
Yes, sir.
Did you say that the people that are on the Budget and Finance Committee are receive recommendations to get into that committee?
So whatever the budget and finance, they'll sit down and look at it starting around April or
I
earlier.
think you misunderstood what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking how you get on the Budget and Finance Committee to start with.
That was appointed by the mayor, yes.
So then you're saying that the 4 commissioners that are still on this Budget and Finance Committee that were on it when this happened were appointed by Nesbitt?
Appointed by me.
They were appointed by you?
Yes, sir.
The ones that started this?
Previous.
The previous,
How could you be? You were just the mayor.
I made committee appointments in September.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not,
Previous.
Oh, he wants
The
to
eight
know
before?
who,
yeah,
Yes, the mayor made those.
yeah, okay, that's what I was talking about. I didn't think it was you. So what I'm saying is that since they were responsible for this problem, and they were appointed by a mayor who is not here anymore, then this mayor should reappoint new people to the Budget and Finance Committee. And you actually, I think, should consider it. You should be considered, because you seem to have more brains than anybody else.
Those committee appointments are approved by the full commission as well, so it's not just.
it's not just that, so.
Yeah, we
All
have the same
commissioners
checks
need
and
questions.
balances as our federal government, from the executive and the legislative. We don't have a judicial branch, but we have the same checks and balances.
Yes, ma'am.
All I want to know is I'm sitting on the edge of my seat waiting to find out what Mr. Mason's checks and balances and oversight's going to be. Because I gotta leave. So is there any way you can just give us a snippet of how we can move on and not have this? And even though you've got 50% of the commissioners that are the old ones, how do we oversight them to make sure this doesn't happen again?
They should be fired.
As a neighboring mayor told me at a conference a couple weeks ago, he put his arm around me and he said, "So I'm going to teach you a word for the next 3 years." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "No." So I have to say no. That is my job, that is our job as a finance and budget department, is to say no on, and when we have to. We have to spend the money that's in our checkbook, and that's what we spend. Yes, every department has given a budget every year, but we're going to look at that from a different aspect. That budget's going to be broken down into 12 months, and it's going to be based off what's in the checkbook amount. That's how we're going forward with this. I will be setting up a committee outside of the county commission of business people, citizens, and folks like that will be what I will call my financial, any oversight committee, and it will be just that we bring our financials to. They will overlook and they will make questions, ask us questions, make recommendations, And I will report back to the Ford County Commission on what I've been told on that stuff. Just because they, you know, I will take those advisements to make my decisions as best I can. No, there's nobody here that feels any worse and don't want to be here than me. This is not what I had envisioned in my first year by any stretch of imagination. I am a limited government, low tax conservative. So this, I feel like my stomach stays turning all the time for the decisions that's being made. Now, we have to make some kind of decisions coming. I'm with you. I heard you. I don't want to rush this, but we're under a deadline. To kind of tell you my story and how we got here, I kind of told this last week. One of the first things I noticed when I got there in September, we had to make a budget amendment. Erica just touched on that to an county buildings maintenance line. Well, that line item was at $25,000. We were already having to pull from fund balance to finish out. And I asked the question: did something break in July, August before I got here? No, we've just done this every year. We've kept, we pulled it. Well, when you go back and look at that line item, we've spent about $60,000 in county buildings maintenance over the past 3 years. But it was a budgeted amount of $25,000, which to me that didn't make sense. If you spend $60,000, you need to put $60,000 in your budget. So that was surprise number one. As has already been stated, we got our audit report back and found out that our fund balance was not where it was supposed to be, and that was surprise number two. I had a conversation with the comptroller's office in October about another issue, and Mr. Ron Queen said, Mr. Mayor, while I'll get you on the phone, I'd like to talk to you about something else. I said, yes, sir. He said, you guys have been borrowing money. It's called a tax anticipation note. Every year you borrow money in July to pay your bills till October when your tax revenue starts coming in. He said, we really need you to fix that. And that's been the one. That's the one that is nearest and dearest to my heart. I'm really not fond of the comptroller really breathing down my neck. And I actually had a call with him again this morning. And I said, Mr. Ron, I said, how long have I got? How long are you going to give us to get this done? He said, you basically got 3 years before we should put requirements on you. If you don't pass a budget that we feel starts you on that process, then we're going to put requirements on you to get there. So that's my problem right now, is the problem. Last year's audit, 17-18 audit showed that we spent $1 million more than we collected, which was a major problem, pulled a lot of our fund balance out of that. Long about December, January is when we started noticing that revenues were not coming in where they needed to be, so we started watching heavily on that, and then probably around April or so is when we noticed that we had a real problem, because when we made a phone call to the Sheriff's Department to see how many state prisoners we had, we were at 43, and we're budgeted to have 77. So we went into full-blown panic mode at that moment and stopped, and basically, and any department here knows it's been like pulling teeth trying to get a purchase order out of us. We've turned people down for everything. My maintenance guy brought a purchase order the other day for $4.79 for a point on a rebreaker, and I said, you can sign it, but it ain't gonna pass, because we're not spending any money right now. We're not. We're outside of an emergency. We spent money this week on a fuel filter for an ambulance because it was going to shut that ambulance down. We already have 3 down, so that's something we did. So we're going forward. It's said about the financial, but we're also going to bring to everyone that we're going to manage our expenses every year. Every month. We're going to watch those. Me and the budget and finance director will meet weekly and monthly on revenues and to make sure we know where we're at. We've projected our revenues this year. We're projecting somewhere around $1 million even on our ambulance rescue, our ambulance service things. Now we're still going to run it. Yes, we went down on the revenues, and we went down on the revenues, and they cut their budget as well. So we're still at about an $800,000 deficit without doing something else to balance that off. But the Sheriff's Department, we set our state prisoners at 40 because we're not, that's the number that we feel comfortable with, and Eugene and Sheriff have told us they're comfortable with that. If we average 65 this year, guess what? We've put a little surplus in the bank, and then the projected fund balance will be more than it is. This is This has not been a fun 2 months. I love my job, but this hasn't been fun. But you know what? Solving problems is fun, and I'm looking forward to getting some of this behind us because the good things are coming. I believe if we do the right things, in 2 to 3 years, we're going to be much better financially in this county than we've ever been in our life. I have told the sheriff's department, told the ambulance department, we're not buying ambulances, we're not buying police cars for 2 years. I got right at $2 million in short-term debt that we've got to get paid off. That payment every year alone would buy probably an ambulance and 3 police cars. If I can get past that debt, we'll be able to buy our stuff with cash, which is important. We are starting this year. Part of our new plan going is a capital projects fund, which will fund those things that we need, the capital projects that we need down the road, the cars, the ambulances, the stretchers, the things that wear out and we need to fix them. On the phone yesterday, Mr. Queen gave me an idea. I'm going to call the City of Athens. They have what they call a fleet management budget. I'm interested in that because we're going to look at going in-house with our oil changes and our maintenance. We're going to see how that works to go that way. I know as my department alone, we're changing the way I come from a manufacturing background. We filled out time cards and tracked our work, so there was labor codes. My maintenance department will start on July 1st filling out time cards, and that's not to micromanage them, make sure they're doing what that's only that is will be a labor code. If you're mowing at lock 7, you will say I mowed at lock 7 for 2 hours, and we will track that as a year. So next year when I present my budget, I'll have real numbers and I can tell you exactly what it cost me. I can tell you exactly what it costs to do certain things, and that way we can decide whether that's something we want to continue to do, find different ways to do it, or just completely get out of that. That's a couple of things that that's where I'm at. None of us wanted to do this. None of us want to be in this mess. We are. I'm going to trust these guys. They're going to do the right thing. They're going to vote their hearts, and we'll accept and do whatever they give to us as a department head. I talked a lot.
No, that's good. I just wanted to make sure that this was not going to be 8 months down the road, we were sitting here again.
As long as we don't get hurricane, tornadoes, earthquakes, we'll and that's people have told have asked, would we make that promise of that we'll pull this tax if we pass a wheel tax? Will we pull that property tax back in a year or two? And I would love to sit here and make you that promise, but I'm not stupid enough to lie to you because I have no idea what this economy and what this county is going to look like in 2 years. And I would much rather do that than lie to you.
Let's move through the districts.
Do I?
Well, we're just halfway through the district.
I'm your road superintendent, Smith County, Steve Gold. The state sets my budget. The state tells us, just like this year, I'm going to receive $3 million. I have $3 million to fix these roads and make my bills. I've been in budget 10 years in a row. The reason I've been in budget, what the mayor just said, they're going to keep daily records of what they do and where they work. I've been doing that for 10 years. My equipment, average piece is 20 years old, not brand new. I have 18 employees instead of 38 that I started out with. I had to do what I had to do. I'm in budget. If you have any questions about the road department, please come see me.
And one thing, I want to thank all of you that have supported me here tonight. That means the world to me. This has been the most humbling experience I've been through because I've received texts and messages, people offering prayers and support. So it's been a really humbling experience, and I thank you for your trust.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
You touched on this in one or two sentences at the Union Heights meeting that I saw, and some people may not have seen it. We have 3 choices, and one of them was this, if we don't do what they say in the next 3 years, the state comes in. So if you could just tell them a little bit about that, and even though that the county wants to fix it for the county and the people, there is another incentive that we want to get it fixed. The commissioners want to get it fixed because of the possibility of the state.
Mr. Ron Queen is really good at not answering your question. He gives you a lot of information because we've asked him that question. Ron, what happens if we don't do this? And his idea, oh, well, that's not going to happen. Y'all are going to do the right thing. no, Mr. Ron, I need to know what's gonna happen if you don't do that. And basically what we've surmised from other situations is that 59 cents is probably gonna turn into $1.20. They're gonna do the cuts as well. It would not be pretty. And they will make it really hard on anybody from the mayor all the way to sheriff that he would never get reelected, because they will say, if you can't do your job, you don't deserve to be there.
I just wanted to say one last thing. I want you guys to contact your commissioners. If you can go to smithcountytn.gov, everybody's phone numbers are listed on there, even, different offices. Steve's on there, Leanne's on there, the mayor's on there. Contact them, let them know what you think. Come to the meetings. They're listed in the Courier. All the meetings are listed in there, even like the Budget and Finance Committee, the Landfill, the Solid Waste Committee, all those are in the Courier newspaper. They're also on the Chamber website. Usually they're posted on there as well. So check those places. I try to post things on Facebook if I know about them. I want to have more town hall meetings. We had the one in Union Heights for District 4. I want to make that a quarterly thing. Even if it's not something like this bearing down on us, I still want to get feedback. Our jobs as commissioners is not to keep the government running. It's to represent, it's to be your voice in the government. It's Jeff's job to keep it running.
It's your job to set the budget.
Thank you.
Are there any other commissioners that would like to speak? We'll just go down the line. Kobe?
Is District 4 any more from District 4?
Any other from District 4?
I'm Ron Shoemaker from District 4. I'm one of the 11 new commissioners that started last August, September. Any of us doesn't want to have a property tax increase this year. Having said that, if we do have some raise in the property tax, I want to see us get a wheel tax implemented as quickly as possible to help, as quick as possible, to lower the property tax. And also, one thing you need to remember, when you have a budget, part of that budget is your revenue coming in. So if your revenue coming in is lower, that affects it all across the board. So one thing that we've discussed in the last few meetings is having it every month, figures available from each department showing what's coming in and what's being spent, so we can do something about it right then, not 6 months or 12 months down the road. And another thing, like Eric said, find their numbers and give us a call, all the commissioners. Last year, I talked to a lot of people that didn't know who their commissioner was, didn't know what jobs we do. So I just like everybody call and talk and get information. And I'm glad for everybody that was sure to that, for all their comments. And I think we still need to get ideas that we can improve the situation. So.
District 5, anyone speak from there? No.
My name's Colby McKinney, I'm District 5. Unfortunately, I ran for office in August and was elected. Run face first into this mess, and our honorable mayor also put me as the rookie commissioner on the Budget and Finance. I'm District 5's representative for Budget and Finance. We spent a lot of hours in the past few months in those meetings, and it's a mess. There's 2 quotes that I would use from Jeff Mason, and one is, I don't think that us new commissioners, and especially Jeff, will be judged for what has happened. But I do think we will be judged for how we get out of it. Absolutely. The other quote is, we can't continue doing business the way we've been doing business. We need more business people and business-minded people on this commission. I'm young, but I do own 2 businesses. I have to pay my bills. I pay personal property tax for those two businesses. Me and my wife are building our first home. We'll never know what it's like not to pay high property taxes. We need educated business people to run for office. I may not be the most qualified person, but next time I run, I hope there's a dozen people running against me. When I ran for office in August, there's 3 seats open in Gornsville. There was only 2 people running for 3 seats. That's pitiful. Now I'm what you got, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Next election, it's y'all's fault if there's not a dozen people on the ballot in every district.
Right. Absolutely.
We need people that care, and we need people that's going to take the time, because we're definitely not in it for the money. You've got to care to be in this position. You've got to spend a lot of time, and I've learned that the hard way. Tell you something on a light note, to kind of lighten the mood just a little bit. When I signed up to be a county commissioner, I went and met Miss Sherry in HR. She got my checking account information for my payroll, and she asked me, she said, "You want to take out any extra what you're paid on taxes?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "Let's see, I was thinking we made $100 a meeting, so I said, let's take out $20. Budget committee gets paid $25. So after they take out taxes and they take out that $20, I get $3.48 for budget committee. So you think I'm in this for the money, or I'm getting some kind of kickback, and you're crazy. And also, the first line item, when we were going through the budget, making cuts, I made the motion to cut our county commissioner salary from $100 down to $25, the state mandated minimum. I wish I was going to do $0, but we couldn't. We've got some good commissioners on here, and especially some of the ones that was just elected. Like I said, I don't think that you should judge, especially us newer ones, for what has happened, but you should judge us for what's to come and how we get out of this mess. And it is an absolute mess. My number is readily available, so if anybody from my district wants to talk, just let me know, and appreciate your time. And that's all I'll say. Thank you.
Anyone else from District 5 on that?
Cody did a good job, and I agree with him.
Okay. District 6. District 7. District 8.
I skipped 6.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Frank, wait a minute.
I'm a new commissioner too, like the last time.
Did you know your district?
I'm retired, and I am so, first of all, let me go back to say, I'm so glad to see you all out tonight.
Absolutely.
It's helped me. It's helped me to see what you were thinking. I mean, I'm hearing all these things that you're saying. It seems like the theme about the whole thing is they don't want the property tax. I don't either. I'm single. I draw Social Security. I'm retired. I'm a retired teacher. And I had to pay property tax, not only on county, but also on city. And that's a double dose. I think I mentioned to Leanne, you could not do it like on a monthly payment, like you do your insurance. And the sad thing is, in August, my house is paid off. So, all this escrow that you automatically take out, now I'm going to have to do it and keep up with that mess. So, I see where you're coming from. I don't want to pay it, honestly. I wish there was another way. But I have to vote my heart, and I have to vote what I think you want. If there was another way, and I feel like what you said, there's got to be another answer out there somewhere. Cut some budgets down. I'll cut the budget down. That will help tremendously. Thank y'all for coming out, because it's been so enlightening, and I appreciate that. My number is, like Erica said, is on the list. You can call me at any time. And all the emails I've gotten have all been against the property tax. I have to say that, every one. And I feel the same way. But I have to vote what my heart says to do.
I'm proud of everyone that come tonight. That's a crowd ought to be here at every meeting. And all I ask you to do is give that man right there a chance and the budget finance. It's a little different ball game this time than you had. And he's gonna change things, just bear with me. Thank all of y'all for coming.
I'm David Gross, I represent the 8th District, same as Mr. Frank Wood. First of all, I want to apologize for being short tonight, but I told my vehicle out on I-40 Monday evening to get the deal. That's neither here nor there. And like I said about these budget meetings, what one road out here is 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. That's about how many shows up at a regular county commission meeting. I have seen it as little as 3. Everybody I've talked to in the 8th district, I'm at 99.9%, I would say 100% against property tax. I personally own 2 pieces of property, I'm against property tax. Wheel tax, I vote for it in a heartbeat on that. And to the lady here on the front, ma'am, I don't know you personally or whatever, but in the 8th district, we're the largest district or whatever. I've not talked to all of my people in that district. You know why? A lot of them work nights, a lot of them work evenings, a lot of them work days. I retired 3 years ago. I've got 33 years in law enforcement. My wife has the same or whatever. And guess what? Around where I live, there's do not enter, no trespassing, all that. The people don't want to be bothered. Like I said, my phone number is on the Tennessee government website of Smith County. I'm in the phone book and all that. So if you want to reach out. Another thing, I enjoy all this large crowd, like I said, but I've only seen one gentleman, or 2 now, I see Mr. Stephen Lish back there. That their name was on the ballot last year for county commission. I've been here since 2006, and 2 terms out of 4, I had no opponent. You know what? From 2006 to 2010, I swapped it back and forth. We got paid $100 a meeting. After that, it was $92.35. I took it out of my personal checking account. I wrote the fire department, Fort Sherwood Fire Department, a check for $100, and I'd turn around and write to the Fort Sherwood School a check for $100 as a donation. 2010, I think it was, the Sherry Davis T. I said, take my name off the county payroll. Donate my money to the backpack program or wherever you see fit. And to the other gentleman, I don't see him now, but the older gentleman, said that everybody up here was incompetent. Mayor gave you 2 instructions, sir. I don't know where you went, maybe out the hallway. They said, give your name and your district. 11 people spoke, 6 give what district it was in, 5 don't even know what district it was in. So that's what we have to deal with. Come to these meetings, call us, let us know that's a bill or whatever.
Excuse me, that's your job?
My job?
Yeah,
My job is to serve the 8th district.
Well, you don't
I've
have
got
to,
plenty.
you don't have to get angry with me.
I'm not getting angry with you.
There are
But there's an anger
If
you're angry,
excuse me.
if your county commissioner don't come and talk to you, you call them. It's a 2-way street, man. I go to this meeting tonight and it costs me to drive down here.
And you're telling me that you're not angry? That you're not talking to me in that tone? Excuse me, there are 3 people that are on the Budget and Finance Committee that were on it when all this stuff happened.
I may be wrong on that. Mr. Joey Nixon was
Here,
on there,
it's right
Frank Woodard, Jimmy Winfrey, I don't know who else was here, Barbara.
Charles Kent, Joey Nixon, and Frank Woodard.
Yes, ma'am, I've served the county, I've been on county commission.
Well, you were there when this problem happened.
32 years.
You were on the, and you're on the Finance Committee again. You were here when all this problem happened.
But I want to sit down, and she'll do it, bless her heart. We're neighbors almost, Miss Leanne Williams, thank God for her. Let her stand up and talk for 5 minutes and tell these people in the crowd about the tax relief programs that senior citizens, veterans, and stuff like that have. And Miss Leanne will do it for me. If you don't mind, is that okay with you, Mayor? Thank you all for coming.
I just want to say I worked at your precinct for 21 years. I don't have anything to say bad about the last 21 years of commissioners. What David Groves just said, do they always do everything perfect? No. Are they here to do a job? Yes, they are. But I want you to look at something, and you can get a copy of the budget, okay? The local option sales tax is something that is like this for Smith County. A lot of people don't understand local option sales tax. One penny comes to Smith County based on population. Of course, Smith County gets the majority of that penny, okay? The other one is based off of where collected. Smith County has very few businesses out in the county, so they get a very small portion of that penny. So if we look back just in 1 year, projections, this is all projections, it's not an actual dollar. Okay, nobody, to our knowledge, does any of y'all up here know of anybody that's taken any money?
No.
No. Okay, let's get that straight first. I have a monthly report that we issue every month. Local option tax comes into my office, property tax comes into my office. What happens to that money is it's distributed according to the departments that where it's supposed to go. There is no projection to that money. It is there. The last 20 audits, go back and look. The trustees office, which is what I do, collects my property taxes and all the collection of money that comes in. We have never ever had but one audit finding in those 20 years. I'm proud of that. You know what that one audit finding was? It's because insurance money that was supposed to come out on the last day of June did not come out of one of our funds at Citizens Bank. So we had not enough collateral, which is on probably, I'm going to say $60,000. We got to decollateralize at 105%. That was all. So I want to make it clear, nobody has taken any money. But let's go back to local option sales tax. Okay, in this budget that I'm looking at, the budget called for, they thought they would get 849. I can't tell you how that figure came about. I could go back to local option sales tax in 2006 and maybe tell you that local option sales tax for that year, and that's what you go out here and get at Walmart or what you pay for out in the county. Okay, that 1 penny. Half of that goes to education right off the top, but that other half comes into the county. But that next year, it was $689,000. Nobody can project that. Nobody. I wish we could. I am so willing to cut anywhere that y'all can find in my budget. I'm willing to cut. I have never went over in my budget. Never. Billy Bass, you're sitting here. Have I ever gone over that you know of? Daisy, you're sitting here. Have I ever gone over that you know of? So I want y'all to know, we are good stewards with your money. These guys that are sitting up here, and I'm looking at Joey Nixon right there. And I just want to tell you, it's one of the finest young men I know. I'm 59 years old. I'm retiring in 3 years. Thank God, because of health issues. I'm able to hold this job because you know what? I feel like if I had retired last year, my daddy would have been mud too. I'm speaking from the heart. Because that man sitting right there hasn't done anything wrong. Has he come to a budget finance meeting for the last how many years you've been on, Joey?
12 years.
12 years. Has he sat there and done the very best that he could? I'm sure he could have said, you know what? We don't want to buy these police cars. But Joey, you're told you got this much money at this time that you can spend on police cars. I know this man has lost sleep over this. So I don't want any of y'all to come in here and think that these people don't care. Every one of these people cares. Mr. Ron Cowan there. You won't find a better man. So I'm not going to beat up on these people tonight. If that's what you want me to do, I'm not going to do it. I refuse to do it. I refuse to beat up on our last mayor because I worked with him for 16 years. I never saw the man do one thing that I thought was wrong, illegal, misrepresented, nothing.
You go in the eyes.
I'm sorry, but my eyes were open for that 16 years to see what I think is honesty. I am an honest person. I've made many mistakes in my life, but one of them is not what I do for y'all. Now, you've elected me. I'm so thankful for that. And I do want to talk about tax relief, but I can't say anything bad, and I'm not going to. Because I want y'all to know they have a hard job. They really do. I don't want their job. Will I come back in 10 years when I retire and run for budget and finance? Maybe, because I love Smith County enough that I will come back and volunteer for something. But they got a hard job. But anyway, that's not what I was asked to do, and I'm sorry. Smith County has 3 programs that you can do if you'd like to. We have a partial payment plan where you can come in and you can pay your taxes starting in October through February. You can come in and split it in 4 payments or 5 payments, however you want to do it. Also, Smith County has a tax freeze program where the taxes are frozen, they cannot go up. And let me just say to you, I don't know where all these programs are going with this new budget. Okay? So if you're signed up on tax freeze already last year and you stayed on freeze and you've signed your paperwork every year, you can have your taxes frozen if they leave the taxes alone and they leave these programs alone. Okay? So if your taxes are raised, you will stay on the lower rate. Okay? But if there's a state tax relief program that right now, if you were on the program last year, you got $148 back from state relief and $148 from county. I don't know if the county's going to be able to match that. I hope so. The tax freeze program is costing the county $50,000. There's a possibility that might be cut. Thank y'all. That's all I have to say.
Hey, Lynn, has there been a reappraisal this year? I got reappraised.
There is, Mr. Kerry Collins is not here tonight. There is a reappraisal every 5 years. We're on 5 years.
We're going to have a reappraisal, probably a tax hike also in the same year.
I'm sorry.
They do reappraisals on parts of the county every year.
2 different districts every year.
2 districts. One.
Yeah, they cut taxes in 2017, and they said we would be getting a little bit less tax. But then they reappraised in 2017, so they still kept what you were already paying. And I might come out a few cents, dollars to the same. I know I love Leanne, and every year when I go in, you know, we have a farm. Tax burden is already high. This is going to make it worse. It's a third of what you're already paying on a farm. That's a pretty good chunk. Cattle are down. Fertilizer's gone up. You know, our budget's not the same either. It goes down every year because farming is a hobby. It's not a moneymaker. It's a loss. Every year when I go in to see Leanne, I always aggravate her and she has to try the check out of my hand. It's just going to make it that much harder. We do get tax relief on farming through Greenbelt. That's, to my assumption, not going to make a big difference because it's going to be a big chunk extra. If you've got a house and farm, it won't, you know, burden you so bad. I know it's going to hurt everybody. But I'm just here to ask the commissioners to take those people especially into consideration because I've got nothing to raise extra funds with. You know, I can't tax anybody else to pay my bills. So, and when there's such a few percentage in the county of property owners, let's spread it all out so it's not so burdensome on just that little 2-3%, whatever they said that it was. I mean, I know we have a problem. I'm not here to point fingers at anybody either. I know it's a hard job. That's why people don't run for it. They don't want the burden put on them. But I just ask, especially when it's that high, do we really have to do that much if we have to do that? Or can we, you know, half that at least, to get by until something else does? You ask us to be patient with y'all while we fix this. You be patient with us as we can pay it.
Amen to that. We'll end it with Tim. Go ahead, Tim.
You touched on this a minute ago, and I may have misunderstood you. All right, if we do pass the proposed tax, okay, say the wheel tax passes too, when do you think we'll get our head above water? Is there any idea as to when we will get out of this? And if we do get out of it, does our property taxes come back down?
The plan they put in place, or that they're both voting on, is a 3-year plan to get our fund balance to where we don't have to borrow money anymore. So that's that. And then they have the county commission sets that property tax rate every year. They have the option to set it at 59 cents higher this year and come right back next year and take that out. That is there based on how the budget's run. So, and we have a true reappraisal coming in 2 years. So that will change how the rates go and how that's collected. So to get our fund balance built up, it's going to take about 3 years, or less maybe less if we cut and spend less. That's our goal, 3 years, and that's something we gotta have to go. We have to have a goal to go by.
When stuff goes up, it never comes down.
I understand. Yeah.
So is there any?
The wheel tax, maybe you could pass that and spread that out and give some back on that. That would be the plan. Yes, sir. All right, one more.
If we looked at property assessments, that's where you're paying your property taxes on what your house is valued at. And I know that you get the answer of, well, the state sets that. Well, I've looked on property data many times and seen several pieces of property that just sold for, say, $300,000, and they're paying property taxes on an assessment of 110, 150.
That is a problem we caught this year, because our penny value should have grown with the new houses we had this year, but with the way our market value was here is what they're selling, our assessment value is here, we had to take a 12% decrease in our tax assessment this year too.
If we can't make it now, I worry about 3 years from now when there's an economic downturn.
Yes.
Business is booming now.
Right.
Houses are being built.
Yeah. We're caught in a 5 year, we're going to, as soon as we get out of this 5 year, we're going to go to a 4 year assessment to where we stay more current with the market prices. Well, I think this has been a great night. This is democracy at work. You guys have got to voice your opinions. Don't just do this when there's a tax increase. Stay involved. Hold us as elected officials to speak to the fire. You're our bosses. You voted in for us. Put us here. Call me. Ask the questions. Ask the hard questions. We deserve that. We deserve you. You deserve an answer. If we don't have you an answer, we'll get you an answer. That's what we owe you.
Are we paying a note on the one property, or did we buy that?
What?
On the new industrial park, are we paying a note on that, or did we buy that straight out?
There was a note last year. They borrowed $1 million last year to buy that property. In July.
And on the plan, and I think I got it right, I had to look at the budget, but in 2 years, you're projecting to have $2 million nest egg surplus. So it's like, could you not raise 59 and raise 30 and get there in 3 years? Because you said.
No, the 59 gets there in 3, and hopefully if we manage and cut to get there in 2. The 59 is a 3-year program.
To have $3 million in surplus.
Yes.
You need that much surplus?
I mean, do we need that much surplus?
To get out of borrowing money, we've got to have money left over. Because of the cash flow, the way the cash flow rolls with the government. See, we get our biggest revenue in October, November, December, January, February. So that's when you roll it and you pay your big things out. So when you roll around to July, your cash flow is limited because you're not getting those big licks. You're down to your tax, just your sales tax
Yeah.
those kind of things.
So instead of borrowing money,
Right.
you want to have that in a
Right.
surplus.
And that's what, that's a fund balance. That fund balance, there's a difference between a fund balance and a cash balance. That fund balance means that's how much cash you've got showing on paper. Your fund balance is your actual cash.
How much is the note on the one property, if you don't mind me asking?
It's right at $1 million.
No, I mean, how much is it, y'all pay that on a yearly note?
Yes. Yes.
Mayor, the question that I've got is, and I hadn't heard anybody say, and I've been to the meeting down at Union Heights last week and the meeting tonight, and I appreciate everybody doing what you did. I've been in your elected positions, and it's a thankless job, so I appreciate what you do. But we've asked the departments to cut their budget on small items, trim here, trim there. What if we had a layoff and somebody has to go home? If we did that, what could the property tax be assessed at then, rather than at 59 and us keeping it?
I mean, we did a 25% cut across the board, and it was about 30-something. So if you back that off to a 15% cut, probably you're going to look probably 15, 20 people. And to tell you what that property tax is, it's probably going to be another 25 to 30 cents is what it would be if we cut that many people.
Okay.
That's just an estimate. I mean,
Yeah, one thing, I'm sorry, I didn't answer Joey's question. We were talking about the percentage, Joey, the 1.5. That would have to be something that Smith County individually would have to pass if you could pay it in July. Because what happens with the billing process on taxes is the assessor assesses the property, okay? Then when they decide they're gonna set the tax rate, the roll is locked. What happens there is he doesn't add anything else to that roll at that point. Then it goes to the state to be billed, okay? So when those taxes are billed, you can't bill until they're locked, okay? You can't bill until it's set. So every year you're in a process of setting a tax rate. Sometimes it's done end of July, guys, is that what y'all are shooting for, or end of June? It has been set as late as September. But what that does is it pushes you further back in collections. So what we're shooting for on that 2% discount is getting people to pay revenue in October, okay? So if I were to say the county commission voted in to give you a 2% discount, if you came in and you're a large taxpayer for Smith County, would you pay in October if you got that 2% discount?
I'd rather have 3.
I
think 1.5. If you pay late, it's 1%. I think it should be 1.5 pay early. Absolutely.
Okay, then what does
If you
it?
pay late, you got a 1.5%
Yeah,
penalty.
okay.
So if you pay early, you should have 1.5%.
We can check into that. I don't know of any other county that does that. And you said what? You said he.
Jamestown comes to you.
Is that the city?
They're coming to you at the end of July, or August, they're late.
Okay, so I wonder, we'll check into that. I don't know if it's a city. I'll find out. But I don't know of any other county in the state of Tennessee that collects any other period of time. They come to us February 29th this next year.
It's always October 1st to February, in February. Okay. Well, again, this has been great. I'm glad you're here. Glad you voiced. Again, I'll say it. Don't stay involved. Call your commissioners to talk to us, get questions answered. We appreciate you most of all for being here. I will take a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second. Thank you.